that's how things go, because every show starts that way. It's in the middle of a conversation, and then all of a sudden it's like the sitcom pans and the camera looks to the audience, and it's like, oh, hello, welcome, how is everyone doing? Welcome to our conversation that we were totally not having without you, but welcome. We have a lovely episode this time. It's not every day that we get to have guests from shows that Gio and I like to come on. I think the last time we had that was our good friends over at the Longhouse, our favorite Nordic friends. So instead, we decided to bring on the boys from the Sidebar Podcast. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So before we get too far into it, I'm just going to start at the top with our lovely Ignatius J. Riley kind of chud that we have up here. Gabe, do you want to introduce yourself and what you guys do?
Well, I'm Gabriel St. Clair. I much prefer myself to be compared to the good Grunhauer, the updated version of Ignatius J. Riley. We are the Tookies Mag Sidebar. We review dissident right / like new wave fiction from time to time, and that's basically it.
David, welcome.
Thank you. Who are we? Yeah, so we're kind of just three weirdos that came together and just started discussing Chud Lit, as I like to call it. There's a lot of debate about what to call it, but just books that come out in our scene. And initially, Tookies Mag started out as just a Substack that I began. I got into writing. The short backstory is it started in the 2020 crypto bull run. I put my life savings into a shitcoin and like gained it and lost it and then gained it again. And I basically borked my brain so horrifically from that experience. It cured my addiction to video games. It cured several other addictions I'd rather not mention here. And I just got very much into reading and writing because it was a good, the best of times and the worst of times. And from that started, getting into writing and interested in other people's writings. And just kind of a natural evolution. Actually, the first thing we ever reviewed is all three of us had some connection with Unreal Press, another podcast you guys may want to check out at some point. They had really horrible audio, but their hearts were in the right place. And we're kind of a spiritual successor in a way to them. But basically, me and Cap were chatting about mixtape Hyperborea, and I was like, I really would like
Adam Lizria Inspects.
Yeah, his novel, which is excellent, by the way. And I basically felt lonely reading this stuff, so I was like, maybe these guys will read it with me. We can put it out there and create a bit more of a meaningful conversation about it. I guess that's really what got us together.
And last but not least, Capitalissimo.
Yeah, so I am Capitalissimo. David actually just released some deep lore that I didn't even know. So we're all learning stuff today.
You didn't know about the crypto cleanse?
I didn't know about the crypto cleanse. It's great. I should probably go broke at some point. So I was I have a deep mental issue related to fearing lost media, and I have been obsessively archiving things that are published on 4chan for years. And when the sort of writing general Discord got started from the 4chan lit board, I joined it to follow all of these guys to see if there was anything I was missing ultimately, because I'd read all of it already, and I found that was the only place you could find other people who had read these things. And I was very excited to talk with anyone about them. And so, David and I got sent out a little message to see if anyone on that server wanted to do a book club, and we found that some other people said yes, but little Gaby stuck around.
Yeah, the baby Gabe right here.
Yeah, and it turned out that our dynamic was was good enough to stick around. So
It worked, and I think our very first time even meeting we recorded, right? Because like I joined the server to submit an essay. That's how I joined the server, and I saw Dave. I was actually there for your interview with Unreal, your first real interview. I listened to it, and y'all put out the thing for the recording. I think our very first time we met, we recorded it, right? Or no, it was our first episode 0 sidebar.
It was, yeah, that was the second time we met. So yeah, I was doing
first time we heard each other's voices.
Yeah, well, no, Gabe crashed my interview basically, where I was talking to Unreal Press. They were nice enough to promote my little Substack, and then this random Zoomer just popped in and started like dropping questions on me. And I'll admit, I was a little bit annoyed. I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" He's just like, he had such, Gabe, he has such specific questions. And when we got off, I was like, "Well, at least he's gone now." And then later, I kind of missed him. I fell in love with him, as we all have.
You adopted me.
Yeah.
Oh God, that didn't go away. Well, no, the reason why is that Gio and I are both, through our weird personalities on the internet, we're both connected to a lot of people who publish. We talk to people like T.R. Hudson and the Double Dealer, and we know people at Terror House Press and the wonderful gentleman over at the New Right podcast alongside Art of Darkness, and they're all great people. And then it's just like, well, who's reading these things that aren't just, say, bringing the authors on for an interview or trying to approach the stuff critically? And you guys fill a really fun niche where you actually read this stuff and criticize it and try and tell people to be better, for better or for worse. Hopefully people take your feedback and run with it. So you guys fill the smallest but arguably very important niche that there is.
It's a cozy niche. It's a nice and tight cozy niche.
Yeah, there's definitely a hard cap probably on potential growth, but we all kind of knew that going in, and we were very intentional the way we set it up, right? So it's a book club format, specifically because we don't want to give a pass fail to anyone, because who are we? We're just some 3 goobers.
Wait, don't give fails out?
Well, maybe 1 or 2, but usually we don't give a hard recommend or dislike. We kind of give a general summary at the top, spoiler free, and then we dive into it.
We're very bad at avoiding spoilers.
I
am very. I'll speak for all of us and say that we are all collectively bad, and this is shared.
Oh, mic touching.
We should all be punished.
That Gio, that mic touching, like whatever the hell that is.
Oh, I'm flicking my cigarette.
Oh, jeez.
Right on the mic.
No, it's like near the mic, but
well, you got a really good
this
mic.
Asthma hours. Well, it's a share, but it's not like the $500 one. It's a $300 one.
Oh,
because I'm like $500 for just one mic. Fuck that. Anyways,
that's a lifetime investment.
Yeah.
Good. I was gonna say, that one of the ideas with the structure is also to counter the Twitter effect, because with social media, it mediating a lot of the interactions around these books, it creates a really not healthy incentive structure of encouraging people and boosting things you haven't actually read. Interview culture, as you pointed out, Prude. We've done a couple interviews. They honestly don't perform well. None of our things perform super well, but they do especially poorly for some reason. It seems like the people that find us, at least, they actually want to hear about the books, whether they've read them or not, or are considering it.
That's why I got out of debate streaming, because it's like, it's not about you. It's about like the e-celebs that come on. It's like their audience. They don't like, you're just a body,
Mm-hmm.
And my former co-host was particularly good at just being a body. So
he's still very good at that.
He has the fuckboy look. He's got the glasses. He's got the hair. He's a fuckboy look.
But I was gonna ask. I had a few questions about alt literature, because there was this. I don't know if you guys were following it, but I didn't, because like I'm not a big fiction reader, but there was like that moment in the 2010s where it became all about like quote unquote like alt literature, where it's like basically like authors that want to bang New York City art hoes. And so like, but I guess when it comes to like distant literature, is like, is there a similarity or a dissimilarity? Is it basically just like now more of a reactionary coded version of like the alt literature movement, or is it something different? Like, I wonder Do you guys are familiar with this type of stuff? Like, what's the guy's name? Default interviewed him. Ty something. Anyways, but you know what I mean.
Lin,
Tao Lin, yeah, like that's type of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think that, I mean, so there's kind of a, how do you define right now the stuff that's the Sidebar covers? We're really focusing on stuff from, quote unquote, our guys. But, it's like, who are our guys, right? So our sort of filtering process is kind of, it has to be a small publisher, has to be, or independently published. And it has to have kind of a sincere, no front in the voice, basically. A lot of the books that we cover, I am generally the one who reads them first, and then says, hey, I think that there's something here. I mean, that's how it happened with, like Incel, for example. I completely finished that book a month or more before the other guys. So, but we try to look at stuff where someone's just has a unique voice and is kind of disconnected or shouting into the void at that period of time.
I don't know if there is a specific style, though. Like to your point, Gio, about the art ho chasing scene. Like it is, the people we've covered are pretty across the board in terms of their like literal incel or
well, because the 2010s was all about confessional. That was the big thing. Nowadays, people don't like, for some reason. I guess maybe the Zoomers will rediscover the confessional, but confessional lit. But
was the confessional really gone away? Like the Jackalopians, which I have read, feels very confessional, albeit kind of a janky one to say the least. But I to some extent, I think that maybe the alt-lit scene is like partially confessional, but also how do I tell a story about like my own political quasi-radicalization? Because the only person I've noticed that whose work I really think does this well is Dan's, because Dan has this capability of satirizing something that we've all universally experienced, which was like the 2016, the online era, the self-hating shitlib who thinks that he's like all enlightened and whatnot. And then some of these other stories are focusing very much on topics that, unless you're online, you're not going to know too much about outside of maybe like a CNN hit piece or something on the issue. I mean, like you say, incel, and then what?
I have mutuals who have been in CNN hit pieces.
So do I. But it's just like, if you say like, oh, like this is like incel literature, well, someone who doesn't know anything about that is like, so he's like talking about the Joker movie from 2019 where they're talking about incel.
Well, it's like incel core in music. It's like a negative XP.
Yeah, like unless you're online, you don't know that, which is why this is such an interesting niche, because people are writing books and writing stories, and there's this building desire, whether it's the Passage Prize or Terror House Press or any of these other guys that are writing books. Like, if these are, who are these stories for? Well, I think they're for us to some extent, but also for them to get the weight off their chest. Yeah. So might as well read it and review it.
A lot of these books have voices that are like worthy of mainstream amplification. And I mean, even the first one we covered, Mixtape Hyperborea, is like absolutely
Mixtape Hyperborea. What's that about?
well, so actually, this is my only real complaint about that book, is that he titled it Mixtape Hyperborea. So
it makes it sound far more chuddy than it is.
It makes it sound far more chuddy. It should have been something more like
it's like a Biggie Slonk edit.
It's like a 2000s high school coming of age story, I guess.
But it's very experimental, because the reason why it's called Mixtape is you actually have to listen to the music, because he provides a playlist, and for certain, so you actually have to listen to the playlist as you read certain parts.
What songs are on there?
He's got
Good Morning Captain. I remember the first one.
Stand by Eminem. He's very much into early 2000s core.
There's actually a Spotify playlist that I'll put in chat.
Good idea.
Oh wait, Good Morning Captain by In a Slint song.
Eminem, and what was the last one? It was Allison. Who sang Allison? I forgot that band.
Oh yeah, it is by Slint. Yeah, that's the first one. No, Breadcrumb Trail is the first one off the famous album. So it's like Mookor that you have to like listen to while you're reading this song.
Yes.
It is such a shit heel opening too. Like it says like, oh yeah, it gets good on chapter 5. He sounds like, I actually almost dropped it because I thought he came across like a total dickhead, but it's actually a really
slow drive. It is slow
drive. Slow dive. Yeah. I wonder if Loveless is on, or a song from Loveless is on there too. But so about dissident literature, like I mean, I guess the question is what constitutes like what makes it true. Is it dissident because it just plays around with right-wing ideals, or is it because I don't know, like that joke, like the leftoids, they have that thing where it's like it's always a 4chan meme from 10 years ago, where it's like a little kid with like nerdy kid with glasses, where it's like, I have a dark sense of humor. It's just racism and homophobia. It's like, that one. Like, is dissident literature just like in the 90s, they had like bizarro literature with Carlton Mellick. He would play with themes about the Austrian painter and all that stuff. Or is it like something deeper than just like making like right-wing memes into literature? I guess. Well,
there's an element of just this kind of, I experienced 2016, Me Too. I just like Baltic. Like Baltic, he said when we did an interview with Baltic, he said something along the lines of, I wasn't particularly political. He was writing Nutcracker, if I remember our interview correctly, right around that time, and no big publishers would like allow it. The same thing with Mixtape with Adam, right? A lot of these are authors who happen to be white guys who found themselves anything with a white protagonist that actually portrays their painter normally.
Except for ARX, who does have a white protagonist but is not.
Well, that's like Millennium. All those characters could use, like, they would be punished in their normal literature world, which is all run by women and women of color. So
no, exactly, and that's really the problem. Is a lot of the time with dissident literature, a lot of people are just like, it's either subliminally political, which is just, I'm a white guy, I want to write things, but I'm not able to. So it's just a natural filtration process of like, if you're a white guy and you're so passionate about writing and actually being an artist and actually producing, then you actually have no choice but to do it via this way, where you don't get any prestige. You're not going to be able to flex about it with a girl at a bar. It kind of self-filters. It's a self-filtering system, basically.
Yeah, and it's the way they brand themselves too. I mean, this might sound shallow, but someone that presents as dissident, they're making a sacrifice by doing that, as well as getting some potential appeal. But it's by doing that, even if they don't necessarily follow a specific ideological prescriptive, it's not in their work as a theme. But obviously they see something is fundamentally wrong with our society. And I think that's what binds a lot of what we call a dissident right. Sometimes these small publishing groups will fall into self-promoting their own ideology first and foremost, which I think is something we call out whenever we see it as a concern. And we much prefer, I think, if it's just genuine writing, but it's from someone that has some kind of connection to the broader group of people that just sense that there's something in the bedrock of our current society is just not working. Because the three of us, for example, we're not politically aligned exactly. I think we all share some ideas, but we're coming from different places.
Well, what are you guys?
Well, Gabe's a tanky.
No,
he's a Hozoid. Is that what it is?
No, I'm close. I'm a classic NRXer. All right, I know it's cringe nowadays.
Oh, you're a Ron Paul Maoist then. Right up there at logo.
It's happening.
That man had no idea in 2012 what like energy he would be released. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meme that everyone has, where it's like the little turtles are just like, hopping on board the Ron Paul revolution in 2012.
And he's an old man.
And then he's an old man, and all the grown-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are like, man, we are so like
far-right racist.
Far-right racists. And like that's the one thing I think that the left was just so true about is that during that time frame there was a quote-unquote pipeline for how people moved further further to the right.
Oh yeah.
And that the medium could do it. And I mean, that's the thing about reading these books and listening to you guys review them is that you do hear the different opinions out of all three of you guys, as well as the generational religious differences between everyone, which I appreciate. But it's also that like the word dissident nowadays in the online space is just a loose catch-all term after the word alt-right stopped being popular or stopped being like politically
or it was destroyed.
Okay to say. Well, it was destroyed. It died in Charlottesville, more or less. But I mean that, and which was sad considering Paul Gottfried coined the term much earlier. But it's
it died with Heather Heyer. That's like
it really did,
yeah.
and that's just true. So unfortunately, like dissident right is just sort of this like colloquial catch-all term for people that are all kind of like the system does not work. We must implement change, but also none of us can agree on anything. But we all know that like the current thing sucks, and that's really, or I think it's that. Sometimes.
So what do you? But Dave and Capitalismo, but Gabe, you had a point.
I have a. Oh, so go ahead.
Oh no, pop-up cat.
I do have a point about the dissident literature topic. I think that there are some threads that are consistent, despite it being like it's fundamentally like a heuristic, right? Like we're using this label out of convenience, not
I call it
some
right.
sort of,
that's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a better term,
to
be honest.
But the things that are common is a sense of alienation, typically drawn from being unfairly labeled as a villain or someone who has power when in fact they don't, and a sense of nostalgia. A knowledge that things were better and that now somehow I am evil despite
almost all the books you guys
nothing.
Review have that. Like a sense of nostalgia.
It has absolutely nostalgia is massive. So I think it's fundamental because of that. I think I would have to say it's fundamentally like a romantic movement, right?
Well, there is a lot of romanticism. I mean, if you really wanted to get technical, you could say that. Oh God, I shouldn't mention the mid-century Germans being romanticists as well, but that's
well, they obviously were.
They obviously were, yeah.
Well, they just swerved to the futurists. Swerved to Gabriel like D'Annunzio or something.
Oh yeah, 100%. The Italian well, I mean, the Italian futurists they were anti-romanticists in a lot of ways.
Well, they believe in embodying the politic, the aestheticization of the politic.
Oh yeah, true. But I mean that they didn't have a sort of nostalgia for the past. They had a weird sense, like a nostalgia for the possibilities of a future that could have happened, but then was robbed from them. But Capitalismo. So and David, what do you guys politically? And also, I wanted to ask another revealing question. But go ahead.
Yeah, David, you want to go, or you want me to?
I'll just say I'm a John Michael Greer head generally. I mean, I could like get more autistic, but I guess that's generally my position.
I personally, so I have had almost exactly the same journey that Moldbug had. So when you talking about Ron Paul is very funny because I was deeply involved in his 2012 campaign. But as of right now, like,
have you met him?
I phone banked for him in high school, so I know how you feel.
I have met a lot of ANCAPs and libertarians who are notable. And I guess I probably shouldn't say that on this stream, but I did.
It's okay to say that everyone had a libertarian. Most of us did.
But,
I did.
Right now, I mean, I am most interested in post-liberalism, whatever that ends up being. And I'm theory selling on it. And my name, like my Capitalisimo is a Landian name, not me flexing on all my bread and all my lettuce.
Now let's clear the air here. All three of you guys are lit Efslers, right? Like you wanted to be writers, or you are writers, or you got that complex going on, or is it more?
No,
pretty much.
I do. I'm heavy. I have a full egomaniac thing going on.
I am a literature appreciator.
He's our patron, all right? He's the patron here.
In an ideal world, we all three would be though. but also no one else would actually go through the effort of making it. It probably wasn't also writing, because that's generally the kind of people it attracts.
But you were saying about like propaganda, like what novels or works that you guys reviewed that like to be honest, like came off as like very propagandistic, or like Turner Diaries tier? Like,
easily our last one. Easily our last review of it.
I think it might be a short story from Double Dealer, actually. Yeah. I'm thinking of Instagram Boyfriend.
Oh, not Instagram Boyfriend. I think, dude, we're friends with Hudson now. Okay.
Well, no, but that doesn't matter.
Yes.
Like, no, I mean, and that was probably the one that we laid into the most because of its like overly didactic. It was a fairly shallow work, and we've since obviously like we've talked to Hudson since, and he was very kind to credit us with his, or partially, I shouldn't take it all, but he was very kind to partially credit his extremely good short story from Double Dealer 10 on the critique that we gave, which, I mean, if true, and if we can actually take that credit, is probably the biggest sidebar W, because I mean, that's it. He did really great work, and What
was Instagram Boyfriend about?
It was basically the first chapter of Incel, but not written as well. I mean,
interesting.
Well, it wasn't didactic. It wasn't didactic. It was just plain cringe. It was like we made the joke of that on Lit. There's this like cartoon bear guy, like a digital comic guy, and he fantasizes about himself saving like a cosplay girl in his Power Girl outfit.
Oh God!
Yes, Dobson. Yeah. Dobson. That was his name, and it was peak Dobson core. It was hilarious. And but to Hudson took it on the chin. I call him our Green Power Ranger. He started off as our main villain, but he's basically part of the crew at this point. He's been nothing but supportive of us ever since. Like
he was even right away. He took it well, and I to my shame, I think we were too harsh on it. It's such a hard balance, right? Because when you give feedback on something in a public forum, right, you have this responsibility to be honest, but you also obviously don't want to burn bridges too hard. Or the last, I would consider,
you don't want to dunk on a guy,
exactly, and he's not there to defend himself.
Keep it.
This is trash.
Yeah,
this is like real insult nonsense. It's like you don't want to.
Yeah.
If we ever like,
I don't know. I'm getting the ick.
I'm
getting the ick, guys. What do you think? This is. I'm giving it a yikes out of 10.
Yeah.
Yikes! Dobson, we got a Dobson here.
We got a
Dobson. Nobody cares. He lost a ton of weight, but then he became a libtard. The guy who played Newman. They're all lit. Like Jason Alexander's a libtard.
Tragic. Yeah, but he's short.
Tragic. Yeah.
Maintaining shit liberty despite having a Norwood 10.
Yeah.
Well, he still gets work done. I saw him the other day on a television doing some like commercial work, and like he I guess looks more or less the same as he was in the 90s, and it's just, well, okay. Like I guess it's like, what's the Lindy Man thing? Stuck culture. You don't hear that anymore.
If he looks essentially the same, then he must. I mean, I don't know how old.
Oh, he got some work done.
A few wrinkles.
He just looks like he's got some wrinkles going on, but he looks more or less the same. Like he looked like he lost some weight.
I want him to slowly just shrink and turn into Mike Wazowski. Like,
well, not everyone can be Billy Crystal,
yes. Oh, I thought.
What's the deal with aging libtards?
What's the deal with aging libtards?
Mike Wazowski was Billy Crystal. I thought he was.
Wasn't
I
it?
guess I thought it was Jason Alexander. I could definitely be wrong there.
I'm literally looking it up because why not?
Can we explain how?
Voiced by Billy Crystal.
Oh, there you go.
He was balding in the womb.
But still, he must have been like in his mid-to-late 20s and completely bald.
But he kept like banging hot chicks in Seinfeld. Like that was the most.
That was the running gag.
Yeah.
But this is coming from someone who's never seen a single episode of Seinfeld either.
Oh my God!
Blasphemy!
I've not seen a single episode of Seinfeld,
The
Family
Simpsons.
Guy, or The Simpsons.
That is worse than Gio not knowing how to ride a bike. You've had access to a
Fuck off.
television. I'm sorry. It's true.
You guys are never gonna. It's more embarrassing that I don't know how to skate. Probably the Canadian content. I wish I could. When I was a kid, I wish I could learn how to. Like I had the patience for it because I would have been a great enforcer in hockey. I feel. But anyways,
You got the shoulders.
yeah. No, but like
Roll them down. Yeah.
Family Guy is better as a clip show. Like sit through a whole episode's torture, but like a clip show, I don't know.
Yeah, it was peak made for TikTok.
So this explained the Zoomer, job so
Memes.
boring, and then it's like the Family Guy classic clips or whatever YouTube video.
Yes, that is the only way we survive
No.
in the working market, basically.
You think that they would really want to just monetize their own TikTok?
Oh,
You think,
they're
you
just
think,
they're
right?
just actually running it. Just Fox is running the Family Guy TikTok.
20th Century Fox now bought out
Yeah.
by Disney.
Right.
I guess that makes Lois, right, a Disney princess, canonically speaking.
Same with Marge.
Although she's like, I saw a clip that someone posted of that on Twitter where
Oh God!
the voice actress for her just sounds like shit.
Oh fuck! That
Like
was
in real life,
brutal.
she sounds like Marge.
No, well, I have no idea.
No, like
Pretty
she's
horrible.
like 70-something years old now.
Just let her die at
Yeah,
that
let her
point. Let the
die.
character die and retire it, but that would mean the end of The Simpsons, so they can never do that because that's
Oh no,
Marge's
they probably
system.
move on. Like they moved on from Apu, from well, I guess like Flanders' wife wasn't that important, but like
Well, didn't she die like super early and they
Yeah.
wrote her out?
Season 10 or something.
season 10,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But she came back though to in a Treehouse of Horror where like she was haunting Flanders for some stupid longhouse reason, but it's
It's so fucked up.
no, she was having like lesbian sex with Marge or something. I think it was the gag, or I forget. She was a lesbian or some shit.
So this is the way that we're gonna
Poor
just to shit on the
The
sort
corpse of
parody,
the Simpsons.
the corpse of the Simpsons. The parody of Flanders being like the Christian husband that just had a better life than Homer originally, and now he's just
Yeah.
a raging parody of what 1990s libtards thought of like evangelical
Christians and
conservatives.
evangelicals, yeah. There's no, it's
Yeah,
Bart,
he was objectively better. Right?
there's an episode
Yeah.
where Bart becomes a male feminist to bang some chick. I don't know.
Many such cases.
And yeah, that's the Spencer Grunhauer approach.
As effective as it is embarrassing.
Drew, you have
Well,
some questions, right?
for some people, I suppose that is right.
Hey,
But,
he's staying eternally true to himself. He's staying true to himself.
true cell, sure, but that is true. Then now that we're talking about like TV shows, this is why Robot Chicken was always better because it was nothing but a clip show. It was it was SNL but with stop motion, where just all the bits would work out perfectly. And that show is old enough that it used to be making fun of like George W. Bush, like finding out he's a Jedi with like a midichlorian count, and now I don't even know if they're still doing Robot Chicken, but it went forever.
I think they're still doing it.
Oh, thank God! Like maybe there's one redeeming.
By the way,
feature of
speaking of
Adult
Star Wars,
Swim.
Speaking of Star Wars, all my links in the bio, $500.
You're still on that. You're still on that.
Oh, that's true. If Gio gets paid $500 in a super chat, he reviews Star Wars.
Well, John Carter's going to pay me $300 if I review this like Mormon erotica book.
Ooh.
So
Beautiful.
Is
You-
this
yeah,
the
you
first Star
should-
Wars? Which one are we talking here?
The original
Six,
two trilogies.
yeah,
Oh,
Wait, you're getting 6 films for $500?
I should
Not
charge
bad deal.
1,000.
yeah, that's a
Yeah, you
bargain.
should increase that. But yeah,
Yeah,
Gio's never seen
$1,000.
Gio's never seen the
$1,000.
original Star Wars movies.
Any movie, $100 a pop. That's how
Yeah.
you should do it.
There you go.
Any feature length film.
But no, the other question I did want to ask though is because you guys are doing this and you guys have been doing, like, is there anyone else that's reached out or has said, hey, like, thanks for reviewing this? Because I had noticed on Twitter that I don't know how much that was true or it was just you guys taking the piss on one another, but did and again, like, if you say if you don't want to get into it because it is true, by all means stop me, but like,
Yeah.
did Mark Marlowe get pissed off at your review? Like,
Yeah, he did.
There's a
Yeah.
there's a little bit of bants there and a little bit of salt. I mean, like the
because
reason
I've
why-
read that book and I actually agreed with like 80% of your criticism.
I mean the reason why we wanted to cover that is not just because it's sort of the same perspective. A lot of the books that we had been covering were not only nostalgic, but set in the, slightly more remote past. So like Mixtape Hyperborea is in like the early and mid aughts, and Nutcranker is in the teens, and Jackalopians is set in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
or
COVID,
four
COVID
years
core.
now, I guess.
Yeah.
And most of our criticisms on that are just like, just organize the narrative a little better. Very, very like easy to like correct in editing.
Yeah, it's purely structural because he's good at dialogue. He's actually very funny when he's actually focusing on the characters. And the thing with Jackalopes, I call it right-wing SNL, where the whole point is just to point and laugh. It's like you're staying within the frame of liberalism. You're looking at the shit liberals do or the left does to own the libs. You're like, I'm just gonna go. It's like the French Parliament. You just go. I go from the left to the right. So it's just pure criticisms of it's just an endless slog. The characters never suffer anything. They literally complain about shit they watch. They see libs say X, Y, and Z, or they see libs do this, but they never actually get actually bodily inflicted by any liberal policies. That's the most thing that drove me crazy about the novel is that I can get all of these complaints.
What, you wanted them to get canceled? Is that what you want?
Yes.
I can get all my complaints on twitter.com.
Yes, exactly.
So,
I like how I said the structural critique, and then Gabe goes off about absolutely everything.
But that was the biggest problem. Is like he's great dialogue, but he doesn't focus on the dialogue. He lets the didactics get like the school teacher. He keeps on the school teacher keeps on getting in the way, and he can write a good character. Yeah,
and for those who don't know, what's the premise of Jackalopians?
Basically, it's a what's that group that was started by the Vice guy?
Oh, yeah, Proud Boys.
Yeah, it's a Proud Boy-esque group in the DC area.
I don't think so.
That's the byline, but it turns out to be more about a guy joining basically a cult of people that worship the jackalope, partially like sarcastically, partly genuinely.
It's like the Elks Club.
Oh, it's like the Elks Club.
Yeah, it's like a fraternity.
But
or it's like the Shriners or the
Right.
The Elks Club for chuds, but you're supposed to commit idolatry.
Well, yeah. There's a through line in the book about faith and having something to believe in and follow, and the main character is a lapsed Catholic who takes very seriously the veneration of this like jackalope head, that he resists it because he finds it to be idolatrous. So
wait, but Drew, you said there was 20% you didn't agree with us on. What's the clash here?
Oh yeah, do tell.
Oh man, turn that on the spot.
Exactly 20%. This math better work out.
It's exactly 20%. Oh, no one. I don't think the Pareto distribution is always 80-20. No, I guess maybe it's because I've read the other books like it. Whether it be short stories from T.R. Hudson or The Double Dealer or Dan, where I'm more comfortable with it being a disjointed mess because this is everyone's like first shot, and I'm not critical as you guys are. I don't do this as sort of my podcast show and tell. I just interview people on, bring them on. So I get, for me, it was like I can look past the structure. I don't mind the story within a story stuff because God knows I've done plenty of conversations like that in real life, but I mean, that was more or less my issue. Was just like the structural thing. I could see the through line. I can see the irony. My gripes were that like some of the best written characters were not utilized as often as they should have been. I definitely agreed with y'all's criticism about like the boomers, trying to sell their motorcycles. I was just like, yep, like that. I wholeheartedly agree with. Those guys were great. They should have been used more because I think one of the things that a lot of these literature scenes, especially the books that get written, the big problem I notice is that there's no intergenerational communication. The sort of alt scene for literature, or sort of like the E-Right, there's the same sort of like Occupy Wall Street 2012 mentality of like, fuck my dad, fuck boomers, and I'm so tired of them.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I definitely understand as to why, but also there's a great deal of intergenerational communication that doesn't get expressed. And so in that story where he's like encountering these older guys that have sort of like screw you money because they're successful business owners to some extent, and they have like these like cheesy little rivalries. It was like a plot line of Cheers about like, we have your jackalope and we're like, you have to prove that we're the superior people with the price match guarantee. It's just like, that's great. That's hilarious. And we should have done more of that. So
it was superb. I mean, yeah, I think that Marlowe writes like
he'd be a great comedy writer.
Goofballs,
they're like little sitcom, like you know, like they're like little sitcom conflicts where they probably don't mean anything, but it's like, it's yeah.
And the thing is, and the politics possessed him, and that I think you asked me earlier about like to define dissident literature. I think that a good proper definition of dissident literature would be an embodied politique, to aestheticize life and aestheticize, or like Gabriel D'Annunzio, the futurist, like to play within. I'm going to criticize the left. I'm going to make my own SNL. I'm going to, all these super. It's always about me, my time in life, relaxation, the Crowball sings, wherever the fuck. All these books from 2016, 2014 onward, this hyper fetishization of self. I'm just going to make a right-wing version of that. It just seems off. It seems wrong. Like it's like the Bowden thing. Like, what is the best Jonathan Bowden speech? Right? It's the Punch and Judy one. Right? Because it is. It is.
No, you have better ones.
Oh, come on. No, are you kidding me? Because he had a natural life to him. He was expressive. He was in his moment. Yeah. He was talking about this folkish art. You can take that clip and you realize you're just laughing along with him. You're seeing this great artist, this great man, just kind of reenact like an embodied blood memory, this idea. Like, I don't give a fuck about puppets. I don't care about the puppet show, but I care because he cares. And he incorporates the politics organically throughout the telling. Right? It is a showman about it. And what I think about with art in general is that art is supposed to be enchantment. Like the critic and the art, two critics have influenced me a lot is, of course, Carl Jung and Vladimir Nabokov. And any person who wants to be in our good graces, I think, would be well advised to read Nabokov's Good Readers and Good Authors, which I think is probably the best intro essay. Is that the author is supposed to enchant. You're supposed to, every story you read, you're supposed to take it from first principles. Always treat it as his own each world. It's like a video game, or like an immersive sim. Like the world is supposed to be interacted with. It's a two-way street. You as a reader are not passive. And that's the problem with this didacticism. You treat the author as like a school teacher, and you're supposed to just passively absorb it. A good book, a good story, a good world is you and the author are doing a little dance. The dance is actually interpreting the book, the texture. The book is a physical thing. It's not a word cell thing. It's actually a shape rotator thing. It's actually a deeply, deeply visual experience. You're supposed to suck in all the details, suck in everything.
But I think in my book, because I'm writing mostly about visual art, is I think
you're also writing nonfiction.
Yeah, no, but I argue against that in the sense that I argue that too much art and aesthetics nowadays lacks a sufficient aesthetic distance because people just want to reflect who they are as they are in Toto. That's basically what neoliberal kitsch is. But anyways,
I read your chapter on Substack. Yeah, it was good.
I have to clean that one up about the Keith Haring one, but that's just
well, it's neoliberalism of a human face, I think is what you said, which is the big problem. Is like guys get so disenfranchised and looking at all these art. Every best time, it's always about the lived experience. And Nabokov even talks about this in his studies. It's like you as a reader are not supposed to give a damn about the character you're reading. You're supposed to be a little distant. A good author can write anything that is against you. You can, for me, I'm a white cosmopolitan, so you could have a black guy working at Home Depot, right? Two places and peoples I despise, and still make it work. Right? It's the truth, right?
Subscribe to Tukey's Mag at YouTube.
Listen,
Good chat.
All right, no, listen. I refrain from my slurs. I'm a good boy. All right.
What if it's a Mexican at Home Depot in the parking lot?
You know. Well, you know,
They could build, they could build that deck.
They can build that deck.
It's Castillo's. You
They can chill for Ron DeSantis. They can build that deck.
You know, they can write.
But no, I think what
Pedro Gonzalez should have had the whole he should have got up with his best Spanish voice, be like, porque, vote for
vote for Ron DeSantis. Yeah. But no, I think that the thing though, the thing that Gabe gets at though, I think also is sort of the big struggle that I wish, because for instance, Dan Baltic makes reference all the time on his tweets where he references his quote junior associates, because in real life Dan Baltic is an attorney and he's made reference to that on their podcast and other stuff like that. And the thing is that like Gabe's talking about immersive sims, shape rotators, and word cells, and it's just okay if you're not online to know where some of this like lingo or discourse came from, you're only writing, as they say, you write what you know. And if you only know sort of these spaces or your quote unquote red pill story, you are going to limit yourself in your capabilities of what you're writing. This is why, he's still working on as a writer, and I still need to do a second read through of his new book. But like The Perfect and the Wicked by T.R. Hudson is a political, like historical fiction story about the Kennedys. It has nothing to do. I mean, and it's a good story. But I mean, I've only read it once, so I need to read it again to be a little more critical before I have Hudson on. But it's different, and it's a take on what he has described as a personal fascination. Having sort of an Ellis Islander background in America about the Kennedys, and I thought it was good. And I think that there needs to be more stuff like that where we're looking at history, or you're telling stories that aren't as just, how do I explain my own like weird rabbit hole that I've gone down? And I feel like that would immensely expand and improve the appeal of the scene. Because like, Matt Forney's written for like Talkies Mag and other stuff, but like Matt Forney's also written a whole bunch of other books that aren't explicitly political, based off the stuff that I've read of him.
That he had to nuke.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's still stuff there on Terror House Press of his that aren't like 100%.
Lost Media.
Lost Media.
Insane.
Yeah, but it's all a reflection of our culture, Prue, to your point. Like you guys had mentioned the age gap, lack of interaction across ages, and like just our education system indoctrinates us into that from a very young age to view, elders as others. You're shuffled into your classroom if everyone's within 6 months of age of you or something like that. And then a lot of people graduate out and they don't integrate well in society. And the society is pretty borked in general. And then COVID doesn't help that. So I think at a personal level, maybe people just don't have that experience. And so the fiction reflects that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not a positive.
Well, on the topic of like intergenerational, what would we have to say? If a lion could talk, could we understand him? Like the literature of what we're trying to do is both a reflection of how we see the world now, and by doing so, how we see the world, how we ourselves are, and also in a lot of ways, we're kind of trapped. Like I like the idea of the perfect and the wicked, and the idea of reflecting upon the past, your heritage. I read I think he posted an excerpt on Substack, it was quite good. But in a lot of ways, I keep on saying this to the guys, I think we need our own version of Dune. I think we need like our version of the reactionary sci-fi epic. We need dissonant speculative fiction, I think. In a lot of ways, this vision to our future. A vision we should write, there's this concept called perfect tense. You see this on Twitter, about the idea, it's in the Bible, but about a prophecy so true, you write as if it was already achieved.
Already occurred, yeah.
Yes. I think we should write as if base world has already been achieved. That's the only way to write in something that would actually be long and lasting.
Well, some of those stories... Well, I think that was some of the challenges in the after the war stuff that I think is being put out by Passage. But I wanted to put this out where it's just like, I'm not a half Gaelic, half Roman barbarian hero. Personally, write what you know is usually an excuse for narcissism. Nah, I'm going to push back on that, because write what you know isn't meaning write about
it's
myself.
Not auto-fiction. Yeah.
It's not, this isn't an autobiographical thing, although some of this alt-light or alt-fiction stuff can be.
Most art nowadays is auto-fiction.
What I mean, though, is that, for instance, you cannot write a character usually smarter than you, because you're not smarter than what you already are. So you can only write within the limitations of your own intelligence and your own personal experience. For instance, I know damn well that if Dan Baltic ever wrote a legal thriller, it would be competently written because Dan Baltic is a lawyer, because he can write about what he knows. I could not write a legal thriller like that because I'm not an attorney, and I've never been in a courtroom setting as an attorney, only as a licensed paralegal. So you would have different expectations on how well you could write that tale. That's what I mean. And most people will say, write what you know. So like if you can tell a story about a tradesman, odds are based on your experiences as a tradesman, you can do it. It's not an excuse for narcissism. And none of the books I've read, and you three can push back on that if you think differently, but I don't think any of these books are too narcissistic in that sense. Certainly not any of the ones I've read.
Yeah, none of them seem to be like a, masturbatory power fantasy or anything like that. They're not just like, I'm always right and everyone else is stupid.
Now, Incel's the anti-masturbatory. It's I always say Incel's not the great incel novel. It's acknowledging the meme of the incel, but in reality, he just kind of uses the moniker, the technical term, to explore the life of this particular character. And I think Han does a great example. There's this principle of personality. The way you're talking about right what you know is Adam, our first big review, our greatest book we ever reviewed, and our shittiest video ever, actually, is our first one because the audio is janked as fuck. But the first book reviewed, Mixtape Hyperborea, is nothing but pure personal. It's unapologetically nostalgia in a pure Greek sense of an actual experience, Heraclitus. It is nothing but a celebration of this one moment in time in early high school in the early 2000s.
To push back on it, Gabe, Adam is a Zoomer. He never actually had that experience. So it's not actually even his nostalgia. So I actually do. I'm not a fan of the write what you know advice. I think you have to have a decent understanding. You can acquire that knowledge. But, in Adam's case, he's kind of transposing what he viewed as the time period being like, because he was, I don't give away his exact age, but he was like in elementary school when Mixtape Hyperborea would actually have been happening.
Right, he plays the time a little bit, but the same nerve. It still touches on the nerve of nostalgia, very sincerely. I mean, every character in that book is alive. It is 100% an organic piece, and
it's very genuine.
Yeah, with something like Incel is a very technical novel. The prose is excellent. He would just go on it. He's basically in the HB. The protagonist is an HBDer, evil psych guy, very technical evil psych. You go on these rants and
he's
rants.
Like Ed Dutton.
Yes, yeah. It is Ed Dutton, but in the best way possible, and it is great. And the thing is, ARX Han, he's a Chinese guy in his 30s. So I talk about a white guy in his 20s, right? And it works. The reason why it works is the world of Incel is made from scratch. He doesn't try to, like what Marlowe does. You have to have outsider knowledge in order to read in Jackalopians. Or a didactic novel relies on the real world to give it weight, and that's why it becomes a period piece. Period pieces collapse as soon as the decade turns and the generation dies. An actual sincere work of art actually is just an organic expression of the whole world onto itself. An Incel is a world onto itself. Mixtape Hyperborea. I related to Mixtape Hyperborea, even though I had nothing like that. I was homeschooled. I was fucking 5 when
that explains a lot.
Holy,
but y'all,
poor socialization.
It's an aristocratic teachings, right? And you get an authentic teachings of literature that way, right? By a private library, by the private expression of actually engaging with the art by yourself. That's how Borges learned. That's how Nabokov learned. You can't force a horse to fly. The horse will naturally gravitate to its own instincts. The literature is an embodied experience. It's something you can teach to people who already have a natural inclination to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with these MFA programs.
There's so many people that should just be academics that try to be writers. They should just fuck off.
Yeah. You know what's
same thing with journalists.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck off and die. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that for YouTube.
In Minecraft,
we're 53 minutes in. It's okay.
Resign from life, please.
Please seek Canadian health.
No, but
Matthew Iglesias.
Yes.
Do you guys have any dealings or with MAFA lit, MFA lit? It's pretty sterile shit, but it's I don't know why they're just driven to produce the same shit over and over again. In these MFA programs.
Yeah.
Well, the reason it's the fetishization of reflecting real life and lived experience. I mean, it's
Oh,
because of,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, the worst thing with these MFA things is the most mid-wit sentence of all literature is the concept of style over substance, implying there's a distinction between the two. But style is an intrinsic part of substance. Style implies that it's fluff or something along the lines of it's not needed. But in reality, it's an intrinsic part of the experience. A style, like, people complain because at the end of the day, the MFA programs, they had to get you out the door. It has to be like it's like a factory. It's like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
You have to make it. You have to sheen off the edges. If you have a scene in your novel where a protagonist describes the infrastructure of his bathroom, it could be an intrinsic part of the story. How he relates to his bathroom, how his bathroom, how he views it. It shapes his entire world. I mean, John Updike or Marcel Proust can expend 10, 15 pages describing what a song sounds like and what his experience of hearing the song, what actually any text referring to the actual how the song sounds like or the lyrics of the song. But the reason why it is necessary for the reader to experience that is because it's how the protagonist and the world views this bathroom, views this drinking of the coffee or the smell of the hawthorns.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with MFA programs, is that it's purely it's logocentric. It's reflective and logocentric. So it's basically, you have to make sure everyone else in the class likes it because it's all backstab. It's very Machiavellian. And you have to make sure it fits into that little slot of it is safe, is easily digestible, and it's quick to grade, basically.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, and this is the problem that's been happening in the social sciences forever, like the humanities, especially, like half of and I'm sure I'm over exaggerating because I have not gone back for any postgraduate work, but it's the fact that it's the rise of the autoethnography. Everything now is the autoethnographic experience, which is really
confessional literature.
Well, I mean, it's Gibbs me dat for the academic post grad communications guy trying to get his master's degree, and he's at UT Austin, and he's trying to justify himself with this inferior complex because he's the first person in his family who immigrated here to get a college degree, and you're also insecure.
You will be going back. You have 1 year.
Well, you will. You have 11 months. But I mean, no. What I also mean is that there's the problem of what I would argue, not just the whole institutional, you have to say things that are going to get you the brownie points because people respond to incentives, but also because there is the insecurity factor of it. The millennial confessional is all there. I don't know what Gen Z literature will look like outside
it's still be the same as millennial confessional.
Oh, I'm sure it will be, but with more schizophrenic dialogue.
Even my book, I say way too much Twitter happenings. I should cut that out. But
well, if you want the book to age well, I think you should.
Yeah, but some things are necessary. Like when I cited the whole Pizza Hut thing by Agent Poso, that's necessary because it leads up to this whole thing about nostalgia.
But you can. So what? You don't want to cite
Agent Poso?
You don't want to cite Countercurrents?
I was gonna say Carrie Bolton, but I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't do that. So I had to find other sources.
Because I'm like, okay, Jack Posobiec, I know you read Countercurrents, and I know that you're a Navy spook, and you're half Polish, and you were demanding for blood as soon as a Ukrainian anti-air missile crash landed in a Polish farm. But yeah, as a large language learning model, I cannot say as to what he should do next.
Jack Poso should say that if they lose, that the Russians should just give them Lvov back.
Well, this is also true. Matthew Lewis in chat has a good point. Based in the totally unjustified idea that everyone's self-narrative is undisputedly true.
Yeah.
Autoethnographies are the identify as. Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Hard agree.
No, but this is what happened to confessional lit, is that it became not only am I there's confessional literature from the 2010s about this chick that fucked her father. Now it's no, I have to fuck my father, but also I'm a woman of color, and it's this is about the societal oppression and that's what happened.
When was Push published? Right?
Oh,
2013.
Yeah. I'm obese and I've been getting sexually abused by my also very obese mother. It smells it fills the room with its smell.
Remember Precious?
Well, that's a film based on Push.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bantu Bros are down bad this episode, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I remember
Yeah.
there used to be this like really obnoxious gamer YouTube. I think his name was obviously Jesus. He was like this fedora tipper nihilist, but he had this thing where he was like tricking some girl on Discord, describing Precious, where like, but like in this version, like Precious like meets aliens and Anunnaki or some shit. Like it was really hilarious, but like that video is like lost to time. But Push was
unfortunately,
like
that video is lost to time, but something about the Johnsons is like still out there, available for anyone to watch on YouTube, and you're just like really depressed knowing that that's like Ari Aster's like first film.
Oh
like,
god, that one, yeah.
I mean, it's like, but it's the peak form of just like, well, I mean, that's more modern film and literature, just being increasingly more formulaic and exploitative. Like you're either one or the two, right? Like you either turn into the mid-30s millennial woman trying to desperately recapture her teenage hormonal years of pubescence by writing young adult novels where like you are the Mary Sue and can accomplish everything. And oh, by the way, this like wooden plank of a man is somehow into you, or you just turn into the most exploitative, like pornographic, either of poverty or sexual
book talk,
that, like your tell-all. Yeah.
I mean the appreciate the YA readers,
like Anais didn't invented all of this, by the way.
The fucking worst. No.
YA appreciate, yeah.
No. I mean,
no,
it's
well, because who is the YA appreciator other than like the same audience of millennials that are desperately trying to groom
female.
like 13-year-old girls?
Literally every female of all political persuasions reads.
It's such an
even
odd
right-wing women
category.
read YA.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
like we're purposely not going to be like pushing the boundaries at all. Like that's basically what the definition of YA is. Like this is safe for your brain, developing brain.
Could there ever be like a right-wing version of YA, or that's impossible?
Percy Jackson. I grew up on Percy Jackson books, and it's basically baby's first Bronze Age mindset. So Percy Jackson's literally about these people called half breeds. So the Greek gods come down.
So demigods.
Yes. It's called Camp Half Blood. It's literally a eugenics program. Yeah, so it's a eugenics program where the gods breed of human mates, and all their modern day descendants. Yeah, they're dyslexic. They're retards. They're dyslexic retards. No, it's like
I never read these books. Go on with this like right wing reading of Percy Jackson and the.
They make autistics.
Bit after my time.
Yeah, so
they make Spurs.
Yes, the point of the books literally is that every incel, every autistic kid, actually, you're a secret. This is like
what Varg says about Germanic pagans being autistic.
Yes, it is a fantasy. You're actually dyslexic and fucking awesome. It's actually a superpower, technically, right? You go to this eugenic Camp Half Blood. You gain your powers and you conquer demons, and it's implicitly right
with your hybrid vigor.
Yes.
Wait, so hold on, Gabe. I've not read these novels, to be fair, but isn't Rick Riordan, the author, also like a notorious shitlib?
Oh yeah, yes, but this is
he said like let's in the new film adaptations I want there to be no white characters or something.
Oh my god.
Yes, okay. I'm talking when the books were written, it was peak.
And don't they already have the TV show on Disney Plus where like one of the gods is like a black man, and it's just like, and this is based off the Greek pantheon as far as I understand it. So it's just Really? I guess I guess the Mediterranean is no longer the dividing line between civilizations. But,
yeah. It never was. It never was.
It never was. The Sahara was.
Yeah.
Yeah. The great bioweapon that created the desert of the Sahara was anyways. It's just what a disaster.
Talking about a Bantu expansion.
Hypothesis. Yeah.
Yeah, what were the Greek gods and Percy Jackson's story doing for World War II?
Fuck.
I'm trying to imagine what Gabe looks like now.
I like to think he
skinny?
matches his profile picture very well.
He's
yeah.
Gabe looks like a chubby brown
you have a beard?
Caulfield.
No,
a little Mexican in Caulfield. Yeah.
No, listen, I'm a med. I got a Not. I
So
guess
you
you
look
can
like
say
a Crusader, like you know that one that basically destroyed Tradcath Twitter when he face revealed what's his name, a Conquistador Crusader.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no,
you
no.
mean the Unionate Papist guy who was
You
just
idiot,
like,
famous!
yeah.
No, listen.
Or Bizcath happens to be blocked. He's got like the weirdo. Never mind.
Anyways, so no, the only thing that I've been told is quote unquote kind of right wing, where there's like Pierce Brown, Red Rising. It's like a hyper focused Roman society, and it's like a Spartacus story set in space. And then like some people were
It's like
praising
Heinlein.
it, and then I saw Charles Haywood do a review on it. And he's
Heinlein.
just like, "This is hot libtard garbage," and here's why for 40 minutes. And I was just like,
Why was it
okay.
lib?
Only 40 minutes. Those are rookie numbers. You gotta
Well, for Charles Haywood, that's like
Yeah.
a pretty nice
Yeah.
review of a book, because usually they're like 20 minutes or less. But no,
Why do you call it lib though?
because basically at the end of the day, it's still based on like the whole right wing Centurion like futurism is what they're rebelling against.
Okay,
And
but that's
so-
what I mean. Like you can't write a book like a sci-fi book about Based World because it would just be jerking off. You'd have to be like, how do you approach Based World and how is it morally good, and or whatever the metric of good is. Like
Well,
you
again-
can't just be like, this is my plan for an epic base society, and like this is if like Solbra became the emperor of the galaxy. It's like, no, it's not going to work that way. You gotta,
Well, it has to be
know.
undone unconsciously. I mean, look at
Yeah.
look at Dune.
Yeah.
Look at Frank Herbert, right? I mean, I think Oren Distributist and Morgoth did a wonderful stream on the
Oh, yeah.
entire Dune series, right? And the great thing about Dune, it gives you two options: either techno capital hell, Nick Land's wet dream, or like a hyper Warhammer 40K neo monarchy. Those
Yeah.
are your two options. Right, and it does it so well and so brilliantly. It's natural because it's implicit. Or something like another good example of like Based World. I talk about this with Cap and Dave a lot. Is I generally do think that the post-apocalypse is the intrinsically right-wing genre. That's our genre.
Yeah, but shillibs have colonized the genre so thoroughly that it's like, how can you? I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
well, here's the thing: they only colonize one aspect of the genre. That's the zombie genre, because
Oh yeah, true.
because the atomic thing was too masculine coded. It has to be abstracted, right? It was the message of every modern zombie story, right? With the Last of Us
A
TV show.
coalition of multiracial, heckin' wholesome, awesome lesbian LGBT people. They survive against the evil fascist
Yes.
Negan or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, the thing is, Negan is an individual. He is a conqueror. He does things for himself. In a natural situation, that's what happens in a society.
And let's face it, in real life, Negan would win, obviously, against.
Yes.
Oh yeah, let's not kid
Yeah.
ourselves.
But they always blame.
And Daryl would have stayed a redneck, but he would stay
Yes.
a racist redneck. By the way, yeah.
Him and his brother would team up with Negan, basically.
Yeah.
But the message of every zombie movie is they always do the flashback. Oh, global warming has mutated this gene. It's very rationalized. They even strip out the zombie element. There's no voodoo. There's no mysticism, and it's always the managerial regime failed because you didn't let them managerialize you enough.
Well, this is why
Except for
I
20 days later,
appreciate-
by the way.
Well, this is
Yeah.
why the graphic novels for The Walking Dead is just infinitely better than the television show, because there is that realist aspect of it all. Like, yeah, there's the lib shittery inside of it, but
Well,
I mean,
Kirkman, he's a hicklib, right?
Well, yeah, he is. He's a self-hating hicklib. But I mean, the thing is that at least Kirkland in the first like two big runs of The Walking Dead, where you get a lot of the inspiration for the TV show. I mean, it goes throughout
Yeah.
the entire graphic novel, but the it's far more realistic as to how people would react and try and survive, because like those interminority, those intersexual disputes are still there in the story, whereas they're kind of watered over for television purposes. Like there are no like white people and black people anymore. As you see, like the first season is just like, no, like in real life, when shit hits the fan, people stick to who they normally would associate and identify with. Like there is us and them in the apocalypse. I hate to break it to you.
Have you watched the spin-off, what's it called, Walking Dead Beyond or whatever?
The Fear the Walking Dead, the sort of prequel?
No, not Fear the Walking Dead, but like the one where it's like Zoomer version of Walking Dead.
No,
Oh, God, no.
I'm okay.
It's terrible.
How
It's like,
will we repopulate if we're all NBs?
Yeah.
do Zoomer kids that are into this, do Zoomer kids have sex anymore? I don't know. Do they? If you're an MB kid,
Someone's gotta fulfill Ned Gold's gauntlet.
Yeah, the
being thrown
TFR.
down.
Just
Well, listen-
harems for millennials. I think that's what it'll be. The other one I wanted was you guys know Why the Last Man? Anybody read that one?
Yes.
I've read the comics. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
they did like a 1-season run of the show trying to
Starring
adapt it, and
a
it was
they,
fucking
them.
awful.
full troon as well. And I was like, I can't do this.
Wasn't
Oh
it-
yeah, somehow the
Yeah.
HRT prevents the Y chromosomal troon from dying off with the rest of the men. Like,
It was
good
like
to know.
that
Well,
novel.
what-
That
so
was
what-
like that book.
What was the TV's message? Just saying, like, listen, if the human race wants to survive, you got to true out. It was more or less the start.
Oh, that was like that fanfic that Jahans wrote for Jim Sterling and that other. Do you know
found
about
the
Gordon
cure.
Jahans?
Yeah, we found the
Philosophy Tube has the cure. Bring it back.
Bring it back.
See, you
Well,
could write dissident lit if you pretended to be a trans person online. You'd write the most misogynistic novel in human history, but like you code it as like this is a trans character. And I'm
See,
a trans
I
person,
want
yeah.
a film. See, this is why I would want in Based World, and we should get this.
Like
film.
John Waters if he was a right winger.
If John Waters was a raging reactionary homofash, he kind of is in some respects, but he really isn't.
Produced
but
by
no,
Jack the Perfume Nationalist.
But like John Waters directs like the zero HP Lovecraft story of the room that keeps his male parts
With a
then it turns
geoduck picture in the front. That one, yeah.
and then like the male parts grow into a full-size man and like takes over his life, and like the truth
His
is
parents
just left.
like him, and yeah,
His parents like him, and his name is still on the lease because of dead names, and so like the tulpa-esque genital man is what like takes his place. Like that'd be a great horror
That's
film.
a story
for,
that
like,
got him kicked
liberals.
off of WordPress.
I know, but it's still a fantastic story.
Yeah, it was kind of stupid in some ways, but it was a good. Like it owned the Impossibles pretty hard. I remember like the reaction from people with the flag in the bio from when he came out with that story, and it was like, man, it was too
Very
That's-
good.
That's the future we deserve to have, but we'll never
Yeah.
have.
Oh no!
Here's the
but
fuck you
I
people
mean, this-
doing. Get super chats. What are you doing?
The other
Yep.
thing too, though, is sorry to cut you off from shilling there, Gio,
Oh,
and I
sorry.
appreciate you doing it as I screw myself.
You know what I
over.
love? Whenever we shill, there's like 5 or so super chats that come in. Sort of like the collection plate at church, or like say like Cheers, like at the bar. It's like you gotta give your collective.
You gotta pay the tab.
You gotta pay the
the
tip,
tab.
The tab. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta pay the tab. No, but like this is the thing about what I guess would be called right-wing fiction, outside of say more of the alt literature that you guys review, is that they're always moral or structural questions about society. So I mean, the Dune prequel, right, about the Butlerian Jihad, and Morgoth has a video on this, which is
Yeah,
so
great
good.
video.
It's a
Amazing
great
video.
You can never go wrong with the Morgoth video. I don't think he's missed. None of those videos are
Yep.
bad. You can listen to one that's like 5 years old, it's still really damn good. But he was talking about the Butlerian Jihad and sort of reviewing the book as he's going through the novels. And I've read Dune and I've read the Butlerian Jihad, and that's it. I haven't read any of the other Dune's stories, so I can't speak to the other novels. But the thing I like about the Butlerian Jihad is just it feels far more grounded conceptually in sort of our present day, because we do let technology more or less rule our life, whether they're actually sentient artificial intelligence or not. But in a way, it sort of definitely doomed us in some respects, maybe with how our tech affects fertility. But it was just a question about like, thou shalt not make a machine in man's image, and we cannot let machines rule over us. And it's sort of that like anti technology and prevents us from actually achieving like mankind's full evolutionary potential. It's very based in
Yeah.
that way.
He who makes himself a machine relieves himself of the pain of being a man, sort of deal.
Yes, yeah, basically, and it's just, and this is of course where you get all of the people that are capable of like the Bene Gesserits and everything to birth the men that can like travel the stars with like their super smart brains, and it's just like that's a far more unique concept about like, can we biologically breed more or less, selective breeding and supercomputer humans about traveling the stars, to reference someone's PhD thesis. But that kind of stuff is always present, I notice, in a lot more right-wing, or what gets right-wing coded fiction is about, how do you deal with conceptual issues of civilization with technology, or with murder, or with morality, and how do you balance that between the necessity to survive like Orson Scott Card has his issues, but Orson Scott Card as a writer, right, in the whole Ender's Game quadrilogy, like what's the main premise of that story is how do you balance the moral question of mankind's survival and what does it take to do to ensure that whilst someone unwittingly commits xenocide, right? Like there's this moral question of like, well, do I have the right to wipe out an entire species off the face of the earth or in the face of the universe? And if so, at what cost? And this is where like young Enderwigan is like, what, you know, he's the Shinji of Orson Scott Card.
Well, and it's also about like, you know, to what degree of empathy is appropriate for the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're looking at like Speaker, I actually think that Speaker for the Dead is one of the best science fiction novels written in the 20th century easily.
Agreed.
Like Orson Scott Card is not the greatest sci-fi author, but like that book is as good as like anything Ursula K. Le Guin ever wrote easily.
Oh,
like
so
it's
true.
It's his best by so much. And
Never.
I didn't like the film.
Never. No.
I didn't like the film.
Oh yeah, I
Ender's
forgot
Game.
to say that. T.R. Hudson told me before the show was supposed to start that I was supposed to call you an incel on the air, but I'm not not that kind of guy.
Stone Cold, baby. Stone Cold.
Gabe the True Cell, yeah.
No, but like the movie Ender's Game, I thought it was.
I didn't watch.
Have not seen.
I'm never going to watch it because I grew up reading those books and I love them sincerely.
No, but
I think Xenocide is a really great book. And
No, but is it the
Speaker
same
of
like
the
they
Dead
tricked
gets too
them
much
into
credit.
like galactic genocide?
Well, they tricked them. Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole like sort of climax of Ender's Game is that like
it's kinda
they're
stupid.
being trained and like Ender's told it's a simulation, and he only finds out afterwards that
He did the thing.
It was
that
real.
he did the thing and it was real and he was
Sort of like Timothy
commanding
McVeigh.
people. So not
Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Shouldn't have said that.
So, I mean, basically, he has to deal with the fact, oh, not only did I just kill an entire species, but also all of those humans that I had, like, willingly sacrificed to make a strategic victory.
Well, that was
they're dead.
the point. That was the actual point. In the
Yeah,
in
but
the
every general throughout
sequels-
history did that.
Well, but in the sequels, he like it became about the xenocide. But in the original Ender's Game, it was about
The human losses.
Like he was doing suicide runs with this device that
Sunset runs. You don't know. We can't say
Yeah.
that word a lot.
Well, oh yeah, sorry.
Unalive runs.
He was putting sorry. They were using this device that
sunsetted. Ethan Ralph said.
they were using a device that with 100% efficiency turned matter into energy. So the explosions were as large as they could possibly be. And he would basically his strategy was to get his guys as close to the core of the planet that was being defended as possible and just set it off and kill everything and destroy the planet, destroy the solar system in a couple of cases if I were in the last case. But not ours, someone else's. Who cares? And what he was dealing with in Ender's Game was his sacrifice of all of those people, real people who had families and came out of hypersleep 5 years after the invasion of Earth and suddenly just got told to drive towards that and die. That's what he was.
Yeah.
That's what he was dealing with. And then it later became, in Speaker for the Dead and in Xenocide, it became about the idea of empathy for these alien species, and which
but
is
the alien species that's trying to end humanity, though.
Well,
well, yeah, that's what the sequels are for.
There was a little bit of a misunderstanding, it turns out.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Especially
That's
about
like-
the conceptualization of hive mind versus individual people, but it's
That's like why I
read
hate
the
this like
sequel.
Reddit nonsense people are talking about. They're going viral with these takes on the dark foresting thing. It's like fuck. Like
Have you read the books?
no.
Okay.
No, but I mean, like the whole dark foresting idea about like, oh, aliens have super weapons, and that's why like they're like scared to make the first move because they know it's like no, listen. If there's a weapon, it's going to get pressed. Okay, it's like a fucking putting a light tube in a wrestling ring. It's gonna get smashed. It's it's a Chekhov's gun idea. It's fucking stupid. These people are. Anyways, I'm just ranting right now. See those super chats, and do you want to talk about incels more? Or I had the question.
I was really enjoying the fact that we weren't talking about incels all that much, Gio. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Well, I had a question. Okay, so what's out of you three guys? What was the most painful or the most like?
What's the most painful read so far?
The most painful or worst read that you've read so far? To be
the ones we don't cover.
Oh, okay.
There's a lost episode. Prude, you might like this actually. We tried. This is actually not an insult at all to the author of this, but Dave Green's essay, "The Statue Crumbles." We tried to cover that, and it was just such a hot goddamn mess. So we had to abandon it. But that wasn't a bad read. That was nothing on the writing itself.
Well, no, the reason why it was a bad mess is because, as a great essay, we actually took 3 different aspects because it's a long piece.
Yeah,
because he talks about the good gay, the good like homosexual liberal, and the idea of like, because Dave has this concept of like the prophet warrior Logar, right? The abased
Logar Aurelian.
Yeah, like the elitist, the man who is completely uncompromising in his vision, right? So he combines these 2 topics together, and I was really obsessed with the Logar part. I had like multiple like references, and I really liked the idea of this man who uncompromisingly believes in his faith, and at the end of the day, you're gonna have to step on certain moral. Because he has to deal with his own morality, is that you have to step away from modern morality, assert that your morality is true, and it will continue to be true to the end of time. That all founders of civilizations have to admit that their morality alone, no compromise, no the good gay kind of thing. It was him struggling with that. It was a great piece, but each 3 of us had different interpretations of the piece to just a radically degree that we couldn't really have a conversation about it.
Which essay was this called? The Statue Crumbles?
The God? Yeah. I can't remember.
I think it's The Statue Crumbles.
I'm literally trying to find crumbles. An idol crumbles.
While we're looking for it,
Substack and go do it and look for it.
While we're looking for it, I'm going to go off a little bit about Lorgar Aurelian.
Okay.
Because everyone loves Lorgar in 40K lore.
I don't know. It is called an idol crumbles. Okay. The vibe shift check.
He is not the like religious authority we should be looking at, not only because he's a heretic, but because the best religious authority in 40K is Gazgul Mag Uruk Thraka, because not only is he a true prophet whose gods have his back, he leads his people to fulfill themselves in exactly the way that they are supposed to be. He has exactly the right program for the orcs, which is endless war with an endless amount of robust opponents.
TOD.
No, I was about to say, so total orc death.
Yeah.
No, they win mostly, and when they don't, they come back.
Well, that's unfortunate.
They reproduce through war, so
yes. So just wipe them out entirely through, I guess, just isolating them and never talking to them again. But Lorgar's a good villain, is what people are saying, which I guess is true. I mean, like the whole phrase, like war of belief. I mean, this is sort of the thing that I find interesting about this state of affairs. And there are other people who have made the claim that like the DR space is sort of like this inheritor of like old style progressivism that just got like wiped out by like CIA funded new leftists.
The E word especially.
Yes. Especially, but I don't know what you're referencing.
Eugenics.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's like that was the progressivist idea in the 19th.
Well, yeah, it was the racist eugenicist liberal that was like, we can breed the world into a better place. But
like Nemitz, it was very Nemitzian.
It was yes. Somehow we can totally recreate, or the rat utopia experiment can be recreated in the sewer tunnels of Las Vegas.
But good, yeah.
But good, good.
If only we had listened. If only I had listened.
Yeah, but no, the reason why I find that kind of the weird sort of format politically, and I did a video on this, I think, over a year ago now, and I called it the hegemon and the revisionist, because in international relations, you kind of have this like broad category of 2 states or 2 powers. You have hegemonic powers that like keeping the world system in order as it is, and they will enforce it the best that they can. You have revisionists that want to change that and to revise it and take power for their own. And I mean, like the ruling hegemon in the West West is just like, the race communism that has been coming out of the American left for decades now. And whereas the right is just like, well, we don't want that. And so that puts them ironically in a revolutionary-esque position. So despite abhor or having values where they abhor modern leftism, they are to some extent the revolutionary leftists of their age. And I think you also kind of notice that in some of the literature that you guys review, where the world system that we inherit is even by using the word systems, I'm kind of like cripping off Wallerstein, and that's already problematic as it is. But you're noticing that even in the artistic space, where they're like, I want to break free from like this fake and gay world.
Well, a good example of the Logar thing, a positive example would actually be like someone like Joshua Graham in New Vegas, actually, or almost all of the Fallout protagonists, because yet again, what's a genre that's right wing coded it's not the zombie apocalypse. It's you can't claim a single nuclear apocalypse as left wing, because almost every boy and his dog.
Maybe I don't know.
Star Trek is technically post-apocalyptic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like
that's the ultimate. It's the ultimate irony of Star Trek is that if liberals want their gay race communism that's fully automated in space, that billions must die.
Yeah, a billion. Yeah, basically that's the case. And like when you have someone like Joshua Graham or Caesar, or because in an RPG or anything like an RPG, morality has to be dictated by a single aristocratic taste. A law is just the previous generation's taste and their own opinions. It's very Nietzschean. The Ubermensch.
Well, that's the nomos of every civilization. More
yeah, but it's explicit in a post-apocalyptic genre. Is the actions of men. Someone pushed a button. The world becomes I focused instead of us focused.
I think the gap between left and right post-apocalyptic is limitations. So in left-coded any kind of fiction like that, it's always about the plucky underdogs getting access to the unlimited resources that the elite have. And then right-coded is always much more scarcity-minded, like New Vegas, for example, where it's like wrestling with how do you actually manage it, and you're almost trying to redistribute what they acknowledge as a limited.
I think the best divide. Oh, sorry to cut you off, dude.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, did you finish your point?
Essentially, yeah. Go for it.
Like the best divide, I think, comes from the 1-0 HP Lovecraft essay. And I know a lot of people don't like him now for whatever reason. I know that one thread wasn't the greatest about the anti-racism, but he had the greatest dividing line, which was in the essay he wrote for the Spider-Verse. It's called Zendaya and the Spider-Verse or some shit like it's in ChadNet. But he said he called it the queer monomyth, where the original monomyth is like very much the hero's journey, where the hero has limitations he has to overcome, and he has to, he does it for the betterment of society. The queer monomyth to ZHP is essentially all modern fiction from the like left-wing perspective, which is that you are perfect as who you are, but society around you must conform and change to your will. It's very much like the most vicious Hollywoodist attack on the dying remnants of WASP America is what? Pleasantville. Where like all of society is to change for your particular instantiation of identity because you're a perfect Mary Sue being, and it's society who is evil and corrupt that has to change. But then eventually we'll come to the heroic changing of your disposition to realize that you are perfect and moral and good and heckin' wholesome valid. And so I think the queer monomyth explains modern fiction to a T. And like all left-wing fiction is essentially this, that you are perfect as you are, society is corrupt, and therefore society becomes less corrupt because you're so heckin' wholesome and valid and heckin' valid. So that's, yeah.
And they don't have to make the hard decisions in that type of story typically, right? It really is about them overcoming the rival rather than assuming the throne or something in Gabe's line.
Yeah. Exactly. Like there's no overcoming the way there is with Campbell's hero's journey. Like where you overcome. There's no you to over, because you are so heckin' valid that there's nothing that you can overcome that is like morally worthy, right? The society is corrupt and poisonous and reactionary, and it's like you are the one who is totally valid. Anyways, yeah.
Well, it's a conflict, especially with genre fiction or trying to write entertainment fiction, which is kind of what we're trying to critique or trying to bring forth, is more just genuine good aesthetic experiences. You know, the left, when they write fiction, it's always about the perfectibility of man. Like their gods is Kant, it is Hegel, it is the perfection, or John Rawls, you know, say more, right? Well,
Yeah.
with something that's more right wing, let's say like the first 2 Fallout games or something like that, is Kant, Hegel is wrong. Like the existence of the failure of this logical regime, the very fact that the world has ended in a certain like post-apocalyptic genre, is it implicitly confirms Spengler's right, Heraclitus is right. You're living in their world. The world that war is fundamentally the fathers of all peoples, and it's a realization of that. It's the idea of Horace's pitchfork. And no matter how much you try to fight against nature, nature always wars back twice as much. And that's the intrinsic tension between the two. Is
the fight against nature is ultimately hopeless, as Spengler had said.
Well, I would disagree with Louis Cachet because Christ overcame many obstacles. That's not a queer monomyth. That's, I don't know.
And restores order to a people that had historically constantly rebelled against their own God.
Well, no, but it's you know, Christ, I don't know. I mean, he became a man. It's not, you know, it's different than what ZHP is talking about, where you have like a very obviously like stand-in for the writer who is a character. Because if the writer is like some polyamorous, you know, like shitlib with crazy hair, it's like, you know what I mean? That's what ZHP was getting at. He wasn't, you know, that's, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just because ZHP is a Nietzsche and he's not, I don't know.
Yeah, his multiverse piece
a
was
techno optimist, which is why I think he gets a little bit off with a lot of his analysis.
Well, yeah, especially when it comes to Christianity, but you know.
Well, I think techno optimism and techno pessimism inhabits, I think, to some extent, there are the 3 general sort of camps I noticed, where you have sort of a vitalist type that isn't explicitly pagan but also isn't explicitly Christian. I think that's where you see Zero HP Lovecraft trying to synthesize in his attempts, which I think is an honest attempt at dialogue and argumentation. You have more of the paganistic elements as well, and then you have, of course, Christianity and all of that barrel that comes with all its denominations and such. But I noticed that in all 3 camps there are techno optimist and techno pessimistic Christians. There's techno-pessimistic vitalists. There are techno-optimistic pagans. And so it inherits all 3 camps of these sort of political and religious and spiritual groups. So I think, and this is why I did that little video earlier this week, is that I think a lot of people's political and religious persuasions at this point are entirely colored by their politics. Timeline. No, not by politics. It's colored. Well, politics, yes, but it's colored entirely by their prediction for the end. Everyone is a meteorologist for the eschaton.
Yes.
Do you mean the actual eschatology, or just like the current political battlefield?
Current political battlefield. Okay. Although there are some.
But also, like it implies an actual eschatology.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, and which is obviously the dominant liberal religion. So, yeah, okay. I mean, so, and does that? I mean, I'm trying to think of an example of something that's incredibly temporal, but takes up a lot of bandwidth.
Well, isn't that just entirely determined by the person? I mean, what takes up your bandwidth? I mean, if you're a political operator, like politics takes up your bandwidth most of the time.
No, but it's what issue takes up your bandwidth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that would be true. I mean, for some people, it's like the trans issue. For some people, it's immigration, which I think out of all of them is one of the most important, if not the most important. You know, if you don't take care of your border, what the hell is the point of having a country? Just today, while we were on the air, you know, they had that guy that assaulted. He's an illegal immigrant that assaulted a bunch of NYPD guys, and he like got out of jail, and he was like flipping the bird at the cameras. And Representative Mike Collins of Georgia basically just says, or we could buy him a ticket on Pina Share Air for a free helicopter ride back. And this was from a New York Republican. He was quote tweeting saying, "We feel the same way about you. Holla at the cartels is that we have them escort you back." And you're like, well, I never take anyone, especially an elected official's word when they say anything about how they feel honestly, but to see someone just say like, yeah, Pinochet helicopter ride that motherfucker, like, wow, well, it's a breath of fresh air. I just don't believe you.
Apparently Stoncil is still at it. Stoncilitis.
That man is a masochist.
I give him props to his endurance.
Yeah. He really is overcoming. He really is. Matthew had a great tweet about this. He really is sort of like a Nietzschean figure for anti-racism. You know, he's still going at it despite the horde. You know, he's one man, like the last soldier in Pompeii. You know,
I mean,
the last libtard at the taco truck.
And the last libtard in the global favela. Yeah.
No, he's more like Sisyphus, and Steve Saylor's like.
He is. We must imagine Will Stancil happy.
We must imagine Will Stancil happy. Yeah.
And no, the entire time Steve Saylor's on the sideline, and he's giving him like 100 different ways you can get rid of the boulder or improve the boulder, but he just refuses to listen.
Or to smooth down the boulder and make it easier to roll up the hill.
Nobody talks about it from the boulder's perspective. Notice that one.
Oh, yep. True.
Yeah.
The boulder is just the golf.
The golf course.
The golf course.
He's just pushing the boulder alongside the hills of that nice green, and somehow it's too much of a challenge for.
Oh, that's where all Blake Slatists go. All Blake Slatists go when they die.
They go to the great. They go to the great golf course in the sky. That's where all blank Slatists go.
I think so.
And I mean, this is. Yeah. And I mean, and what's so funny about this is that like. Steve would probably, for all intents and purposes, abhors the more T&D posting people that are in like Will Stancil's replies.
Oh, of course,
because he's a boomer. He's a sports loving boomer who has a positive opinion of certain other groups.
I'll put it out there right now. Steve Saylor has absolutely horrendous like boomer takes that I just disagree with. I can't
because he's a boomer at heart. He's a boomer.
Like his clowned takes are so fucking stupid. I can't even bring myself to respect them. But anyways, go ahead.
But I mean, it's also because it's like when he debated, what's his name? Who helped write Freakonomics? The Stephen Levitt guy, and they were debating about abortion, and it like got published in the Atlantic. Like that article, you can still find on the Atlantic, but the names of Levitt and Saylor are erased, and it just says authors. And so, because Steve is just a glorified like white Jimmy the Greek, where he's just like, hey, there are some differences between races, and that applies to like the NFL and sports. And they're like, that's so bad. And it's just like, well, the only people that publish Steve is like what Takis Mag and fucking VDare, and it's just like when he should be a respectable academic like anybody else. And everyone knows how this game gets played. These people read Steve Saylor. They read these like HBD blogs. Like there's a reason why Richard Hanania was Richard Host. And it's not because, I was an incel and then I got laid. And it's like, no, you didn't, you ugly motherfucker. We know that's not the truth. You just wanted to be liked by other people. And you went on to have this lovely libtardification of your own worldview. Where like, I can be racist, but somehow I can be progressive as well.
This is why I think nobody should respect Hanani or give him any time of day. He's just doing it to like bait post at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Great bait, mate. 8 out of 8. You know, try again.
Who cares?
So it's just like this is the kayfabe of the online world, and I hate using that phrase, but everyone knows how this game gets played. Everyone knows where their bandwidth gets taken up on this like monotonous, boring bullshit over.
It's another reason why we do this, though, is, and I encourage other people to read this stuff as well, because it's so much healthier for you. Like for me and in my political outlook, I think a lot of this shit we're just going to have to endure. I don't see anyone seizing power anytime soon. Not that there's not value in awareness.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's so all consuming and soul destroying because social media dynamics are just going to keep regurgitating a picture of some Mexican dude kicking a white chick down a flight of stairs at you, right? Like it will keep producing whatever gets your
it will give you the pornography you're looking for.
Yeah,
political or otherwise.
Did you make a reference to a certain e-girl?
No,
going down the flight of stairs.
No, is that is a friend of yours, Gio?
Yeah, she's a mutual of mine.
Friend of yours? Yeah, Gio, you know all the e-girls, right?
Let me just say it's kind of shitty to air your fucking dirty laundry out in public. But anyways, that's because I'm mutuals with any particular e-girl, but anyways.
You're mutuals with lots of e-girls.
Yeah.
I just
me and Furious Pertinax, yeah.
Yeah, you and Furious Pertinax are the followers of all sorts of e-girls. I just block them. Like when Meta Prime wanted to add me to a group chat of his, he was like, "Hey, are you blocking like ex e-girl?" And I was like, "Yes, I block almost all of them." There are like 5 women that I don't have blocked on Twitter, and all of them are
Holy
married
Christ.
women who publish things in written word. Outside of that, no, I don't follow any of these.
Oh, there should be
Oh.
a service like Blue Check, but for marriage for women. Like if she's not married, she should have like a little yellow ring next to her name or
Yeah,
something.
but even some of them that are married aren't
Block
that
them
great
all.
either. I mean, it's-
Yeah, I want a Twitter blue check mark, but for women that are married, so like a little gold band or something.
Yeah, and then just block
There-
all the hoes.
oh,
Well, I
man.
don't treat Twitter like a dating app. I'm not that Indian to do that. So I just I just went out. I'm not particular. I don't care enough to bot. And like that's the thing. It's just
I'm
it's
sure
the
there's
whole
some
thing
girl
where
that probably likes you out there, Prude.
I don't care. She needs to seek mental help and stop
Oh my
being on the internet.
God.
But at the end of the day, right? Like it's when people are like, "Oh man, Twitter sucks," and then you get that sort of like Reddit tier reply where it's like, "Bro, you follow the accounts," and it's like, "Yeah, you do." It's kind of
Yeah.
it is what you make of it, and you kind
I
of have to
mute
be
so
very
many
careful
people
to not
for that reason. 'Cause
blow
it-
your.
I'd never
brains
mute
out all the
anybody. I'd
time.
rather just block. You know what I mean? Like it's why mute somebody?
Well, I have a couple people muted because
Oh, you
like,
respect them, but you don't like their
though I like them, they're either like it's like for example, one of them is Alexander Dugan's account, right? Like, but the problem with that account is that it's like
He posts
he's
a lot of
posting
cool.
in no, it's posting in like Arabic and Hindi and Spanish and they post all of the stuff to that. I'm sure it's like run by Arctos or whatever, but it's and
No,
like
it's
and then I
actually
have a
him.
couple. Is it? And he's just like running these through translators.
I think so.
It's third
That's-
world
that's
Duganism,
wild.
baby. He
That's
fell for
wild.
his own meme.
I'm not a Dugan stan, but I've read many of his books and I
Yeah.
am interested in the thought. But yeah,
I'm
and then
like, I wouldn't
a
consider
couple
him-
authors that I like too who post too many cat photos.
Yeah,
Oh,
enough
man.
fucking cats, guys.
You
I
don't.
don't
You're not a
know.
cat appreciator.
Oh yeah, that's another piece of lore. I hate cats. Yeah, they're
Oh,
fucking
Why
you're-
you
stupid.
hate
not a-
cats?
You're not a
Fuck
toxic.
you. Get out of here. I have my 2 cats with me right now in my room. Oh my
I know it doesn't
God.
make me any friends. I'm also allergic, so I have
That's
my
Andrew
reasons.
Tate posting
Oh, you're not
against
gonna-
That's a
cats.
weak take. That's a
Yeah.
weak take. Hate them because you hate them. Don't hate them
The little
because of your
puckered
immune system.
buttholes in my face. Ugh, disgusting.
Oh
Hate
my
those little
God.
things.
Anyways,
Oh,
let's
Lord.
move on to do you want to do more about literature, current news, or
Well,
Oh yeah, let's drag the boys into their uncomfy zone and talk about the news.
Ooh.
I'm so comfy.
You're so comfy?
Start where you start. I'm so comfy. Start where you want on this, but when we
well,
get
don't lose
to
your head
Mr.
over it.
when we get to Mr. Pennsylvania,
Oh, we'll get there in a minute.
Don't lose your head,
I'm
Kat.
I'm gonna start with
Don't lose your head
something
over
that
it, boys.
don't lose your head. Let's not.
It was
put
a great
let's
black
not,
metal song, by the way. But anyways,
let's not throw it all in the plastic bag just yet. No, so there was
it was a double bagger right there.
it sure was. Clean up
I
on aisle
remember. I have
3.
a story about that. I remember there was these 2 kids, these 2 weirdos in school. But like one guy was a cool dude. They were looking up these like OG gore sites right in the middle of the computer lab. This was like grade 10, and they were looking up the Sharon Tate photos, and they're both like laughing their heads off. They're like, "That's a double bagger." I'm like, "What the fuck are you guys
Oh my gosh.
doing?" One of the kids' name was Alec. But anyways, go.
The other one was Varg.
nice.
Good lord.
That one's a double bagger. I just remember that. I'm like, I can never forget that.
I feel
It was
like
like
that's
the
something that
Sharon
people
Tate
would
photos.
unironically say in like a Law and Order episode, where because like all the Law and Order shows these days, they're like constantly trend chasing. They're ambulance chasing, but for like 3-year-old Reddit memes about like 4chan or whatever. And they can never call these things by what they are. I don't know what the rules they have in their writer's room that you can't name Reddit or you can't name 4chan
They
or whatever.
called it
so
Red
they just go-
Chan.
Yeah, or 4chan it or whatever. It's just like shut the fuck up. And Like they'll
Martin's
try and
have
do like
read
their
it, yeah.
Gamergate episodes. They've had their like E. Jane Carroll episode already. How about or even where like a white rich woman gets assaulted by a black man, and she's like,
Oh, that was the
I
recent
can't
one where she didn't want to persecute because he would be like,
prosecute and press charges because he's black and all
Yeah,
that.
he didn't do nothing.
It's such propaganda.
Oof.
Although I had to laugh because this came out earlier today, where George R. R. Martin was in an interview, and he had said that social media is dominated by anti-fans. It says toxicity is growing. It used to be fun talking about our favorite books and films and having spirited debates with fans who saw things different, but it is no longer enough to say I did not like this book or this film, and here's why. People would rather talk about the stuff they hate rather than the stuff they love, and delight in dancing on the graves of anyone whose film has flopped.
Whoa.
Isn't his whole thing about just trying to stick it to Tolkien?
Yeah.
No,
That's what he used to say, and then he no longer became the underdog, and he had to come up with another villain, and it turns out the villains were the friends you made along the way.
Oh
The
my
villains
God.
are the people-
That's all the people that watched your work never finish, and the
Yeah.
TV show based off your work turned into a shit show.
Yeah,
the
stop
villains
eating
were the customers all
empanadas.
along.
Stop eating empanadas and
Sisters that
finish
you
the Winds
fucked
of
along the
Winter.
way.
Yeah.
Do you hear what I said?
What'd you
Yes.
say?
The sisters that we fucked along the way, or George
Oh.
R. R. Martin.
Based.
Oh no!
No.
Well, if you think about the king, like Mohan the Kingslayer, when you think about it,
You know, if you like that, you should listen to the upcoming episode of Cannon Fodder, where T.R. Hudson and I discuss Robert Heinlein's Farnham's Freehold.
Too hot for YouTube, though.
Oh,
Too
for
hot
obvious
for YouTube.
reasons.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
something about George R. R. Martin's just so painfully read. I just can't put my finger on it. Like I
Was
wasted my
his latest
time.
essay, or not essay, his latest blog about it had the whole thing about he couldn't finish the books because of Ukraine this year. Like he's like, I just can't focus.
It was Putin did it.
Yeah, he literally goes on
What
an
a
Archman
fucking
dad
piece of
rant for like
shit.
500 words, and he's like, yeah, no
Oh.
book, by the way.
I can't finish the
profoundly.
essay because they took Prapatnaya. Like,
He makes one blog post a year. That's the output that he's currently.
that's like how
managing.
ContraPoints makes one video a year.
True.
Yeah.
Name drift.
Well, being sponsored by the United States State Department probably does not help,
Yeah.
or going on the podcast circuit with Hillary Clinton doesn't help either.
Did ContraPoints did a thing with Hillary Clinton?
Yes, like
That's
Hillary Clinton did a
crazy.
whole podcast circuit with all these guests, and ContraPoints was one of them.
I
That
love
was
how there's
pretty
like a
cool.
tier and bread tube of like you get to be in the mainstream, like ContraPoints gets to be with Hillary Clinton, but Keffels gets to be with Chris Chan doing a podcast. So it's like that's the tier. And like Billy Vauch is in between. Oh no, Vauch was gonna go to the White House. Did you see that? Along with Hassan and Keffels and
Destiny.
I think it was Destiny, and Destiny. But Destiny's like not really a bread tuber anymore because they hate him. So
Yeah, he's just pure neolib.
yeah,
like,
he's just
what do you call
He's
it?
left wing
Slinger, dude.
Richard Ania, basically. He's
and he,
like,
yeah, basically. You mean just Richard Hanania?
yeah,
No.
yeah, pretty much.
Richard Hanania would be okay. He would be a shit lib if he was like a little bit less racist. He would just be a lib. He'd be like a neoliberal. Like he
Mhm.
wouldn't be that controversial. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Like
How is-
apart from the racism, can you name any other right wing position that Richard Hanania has? You can't. Apart from the racism.
Nothing that he hasn't regurgitated and softened down from either countercurrents or even fucking Christopher Caldwell's age
Yeah.
of entitlement. And Christopher Caldwell isn't even a conservative or right winger. He's a very disaffected liberal.
Yeah.
Like, I hate the fact that like Hanania takes credit. He's just like, well, this is the Substack piece that got No, it was fucking Caldwell. Like, don't you take credit for that?
Well, aren't most mainstream conservatives just disaffected 90s liberals?
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It's like Gavin
That's-
McGinnis.
that's what you got.
That's what you got.
That's what you're
Well, I
working
mean,
with.
really deep down, we're all liberals to some extent. Like, there
Of
are very
course.
few people.
If
who
you-
No,
believe
but
in
there was a great essay
Yeah,
by
if you're raised in it. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
There's a great
Raised-
essay by Magdalena Taylor on her Substack, where she talks about like the reason Paglia is so seductive now is because it's like Paglia is trying to find an extreme between like the extremes of like sex posy, libtard, like, you know, go out there, be a libertine, and like very reactionary sex negativism, where it's like in between you have like this 90s liberal, like, you know, fuck around, but like eventually you sort of smarten up, and you know, I forget how she put it, but like I think that becomes reactionary by just how bad things are, because Zoomers tend to have both the extremes of like, you know, OnlyFans, porno world, and extreme sex negativity.
Well, we get numb to it. That's the thing. We get so numb. Like when you get internet access to like hardcore pornography, like before 12, you kind of just get totally numb to everything. And there's a certain acid bath effect where everything you get exposed to such a degree, you kind of get your nerves become realived or rewiled, basically, where you actually get more sincerity out of this embodied experience of vitality. Like that's why you know, I became you know, you don't become right wing with your brain. You become right wing between the spine, basically between the shoulder blades. You know, you feel it. It's a feeling. It's an embodied experience. It's a vibe. When you get exposed to everything around you in the modern millennial neoliberalism, you actually kind of rust you. It takes away every aspect of you until you finally hit something that actually feels something in your nerves, and that's what makes you feel true. You know,
that's what I mean. Like millennials, apart from nostalgia, and we're trying to like murder that even. Like millennials don't feel like really strong affects the way that I think Zoomers or even Gen Xers did. Yeah.
No, because the
millennials are like spiritual boomers in that sense. There's no strong affect anywhere. It's all a pastiche.
Because they still have residual like norminess. Like Zoomers, like we were born chronically online. So like we had everything fucking wind blasted from us. We have nothing organic. That's why we seek something vitalistic. That's why we seek, we're so performative about it.
That's why Sam Sulek is so popular.
Exactly.
Millennials had Z's. We have Zoomers have Sam Sulek. Yeah. I shouldn't say that though. Millennials had Rich Piana, but that's, you know, that's different.
And then of course there's the nostalgia for Camille Paglia, which is fucking bizarre.
Yeah. Because she was the first e-girl. She was like apart from Anais, like she was like you see her mannerisms. She like totally would be like a Red Scare girl if she was like.
Well, did you tweet this out, Gio, the other day, or someone had the clip of Camille Paglia from like the 90s, and it's like I understand why every quote reactionary chic chick has this, like Harrington or whatever.
Oh, I tweeted that. Yeah, why?
No, it was an exceptionally great take.
Yeah. Like look at Paglia's mannerisms in that interview. She's like, she's got the face and the like. She's, she reminds me of fucking.
Oh yeah, and Arco, who would have guessed? You know, like.
I love her attitude. I love her spunk because she has a great energy to her.
Very sexy in some ways. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but she'd be fucking crazy though. Like
you said at the beginning of this, do not put your dick in crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's vital.
Listen, I'm a hypocrite in my own suggestions. I've done that. I don't recommend it. I mean, it's like procrastinating alongside other masturbatory acts. It's going to feel great, and then you realize at the end that you've only fucked yourself, and it's just not worth it. But
she would write a great post like breakup essay about it. Well, to be honest, at least.
Yeah, and I would write a great post breakup movie about it, like that one guy directing Her.
She was right about men though in that one clip on the Food Channel, where she's like, I would have been more successful man if if really I just realized
you don't have to do the impression. You don't have to do the impression.
She said like, what did she say? She realized like men just want to be like heard and felt,
cuddled or whatever.
Yeah, like women just have to be like, they have to mommy max when it comes to successful relationship with men, which is true.
It was a recognition of like the men as a hollow animal.
Exactly.
There was one. Who was it? Somebody recently said the cure for inceldom is like if they just saw what the average woman's love was like, it would probably fucking kill themselves.
I disagree with that. I fucking disagree with that Mart take. That like was Mart or was it
that was Mart. Yes, thank you. It was, dude. That was fire.
Why do people still tolerate that shit?
I think Mart. Okay, I appreciate it on an intellectual, artistic level what Mart is doing.
I appreciate
but in terms of, like, a
unabashed
social
sexual
contagion-
debauchery on an intellectual level. Yes, Gio, tell us more.
No, but like in terms of like the social contagion of it, I think like his like hyper incel like take on relationships or whatever. I think that's incredibly destructive. But I understand like from a poster aesthetic art, like an artistic level, I understand like what he's doing. Like he really created a brand for himself. But in terms of like the actual social contagion, I think it's sort of like too demoralizing and blackpilling. I think Mark should Mark should calm down and sort of. You have to realize Mart is a fake cell. Okay, he had sex, so I don't want to bash him. I think he's a great poster. He certainly has.
It's a stand-up act, right? It's like it's a character.
It's a bit.
Yeah.
Just stick with the bit because that's all we do.
Say the line, Mart. Basically.
Say the line, Mart.
That
Good
was
widow.
one of the best e-girl videos I've ever seen in my life was that one chick that kind of looks Iranian, but like with black hair. She's like, if you cross a French girl and an Iranian girl, she's like, just nothing is more important than the bit. I know nobody understands, but that's part of the bit, right? Like I love that video. I love
Side
that
Vision.
video.
Yeah, she's a Side Vision. She's on TikTok. She's Mexican, actually.
Oh, she's Mexican? I had a follower DM me that she's
They all
dating
know
like a
each other.
based frog, apparently. So
Yeah.
Yeah, she's dating like a based Baptist who happens to be Mongolian in ethnicity, I think.
oh, Sobra?
No, not so.
No, not Sobra.
He's a Uyghur.
No, Sobra's a fucking Sobra is a fucking Oblivion high elf. All right, he's something straight out of the Oblivion.
That's why Sobra knows so much about China. He probably is like yeah. That's crazy.
He raids for grain and women across the border.
Yeah.
I would
I'm
unironically
not really into
appreciate.
Sobra that much. Like I follow him, but I'm not like a Sobra guy.
I
You know what I mean?
I think he just decided to double down after the face reveal, and then like the first thing he posts after the face reveal
Was it
on
John
his
Cena?
Instagram was an eagle with a Sonnenrad in the background. It's just like, all right, here we go. You know,
No, but
like,
he tweeted someone made an edit of like that John Cena thing where John Cena has the ice cream. He's like,
yeah, I
singing
saw
a Chinese song.
that.
Yeah, it's like Sobra with like the Fu Manchu. Like that's like.
Well, this is
Yeah.
why
You know why? This is why Sobra will last because he can make fun of himself. Unlike other frogs, especially that one guy that couldn't make fun of himself. You know,
I don't know who you're referring to.
Who Prude, who
Like
never
either
mind.
name names or just move on.
Well, you know,
like
if it's like if like people called me fat and I like went crazy because people called me fat. Hint, hint.
Like Med Gold.
No idea what you mean.
I'm like,
Are we talking
fuck
about
you,
Ethan Ralph?
need to have
Tampon. If
well,
like
I mean,
if someone
you have-
if you went crazy after someone making fun of you when you're a face up slur, I'm sorry, you're not gonna fucking make it. I'm sorry. You have to like learn how to have some levity about yourself. And I think Sobra having a little bit of levity about himself, that's great. Like that's, you know, I know people like some people don't like him because they call him a grifter or whatever. But I think like the fact that he could retweet a meme about himself, that's amazing. It's like, you know, that kid that does the black or Chinese edit? Some guy doxed that kid. He's like, here's what I would look like if I was black or Chinese. He that guy.
Perfect.
That was the
perfect.
ultimate
And that guy
ownership
got
of
banned
the
for
bit.
doxing. So
An absolute
Excellent.
showman. An absolute showman to the end.
So you doxed the kid's like literally a 16-year-old kid, and he's like, "Here's what I would look like, black or Chinese." Like that was amazing. That was incredible.
So good.
One of my favorite memes that Justin Wang tweeted was, I know Prudy never watched The Simpsons, but do you remember when Nelson Muntz made fun of the tall guy in the little car? So he had the meme. He's like, "How would you like it if I edited you black or Chinese?" Like that was amazing. Look at this. Anyways, go. What were you gonna say, Capitalismo?
I have no idea. I do not know where we were.
Okay, we're talking about.
That's welcome to the show. Welcome to the fucking show.
Listen, you are
Wait,
talking
did you
to
make
the
fun
two
of
biggest grass
yourself?
touchers.
Yeah,
Like this is every
yeah.
comment section after every episode. There are at least 2 or 3 people that are like, yeah, this was great for so and so, and then I just totally lost fucking track after something got brought up, and it's just like, you must be new here. We've been doing this for 76 episodes. You must be new here.
Oh, we're talking about Meg Gold and making
the conversation just goes where it goes.
It really does. This is why we start every episode in media res. So it's like I mentioned, it's just so the audience has a conversation. They have no idea what we're talking about, and then they brought in.
So
that's how it goes.
What were we talking? Okay, we were talking about Paglia before we were talking about Solbra. What else are we talking about?
Well, we were transitioning away. We were also talking about like
current events,
and current events.
Yes.
Okay, current events. Go ahead, Prude.
Would you like a bag with that, Geo? Do you want to talk about it? Because apparently he has a music career, and Capulissimo has listened to all of it.
Oh, not only that, he's bought his entire bibliography of writing as well.
Oh my god!
Okay,
Capulissimo, take it away.
I'll put you on a list.
So let's.
Some people might not know.
I am every time I have said that I got all of them, people are like, "Oh, you're going to be on a list." It's like, man, I am on so many lists, obviously already.
Yeah, at this point,
does someone want to do the whole background, or do you want me to just go ahead?
Well, okay. So just to let the audience prep, we are going to talk about the gentleman that has allegedly redacted his father via beheading and did a video about it.
Alleged?
No, he found him like that.
I'm using the correct legal terminology, alleged. And then of course we have PSYOP or otherwise, because there are people that are posting like you can buy a
it was
separate
fake or whatever, yeah.
Well, and also for anyone, okay, I grew up with Live Leak, and I grew up with seeing cartel like beheading videos on the internet. Like when someone's head has been beheaded, there's usually like a lighter, grayer, paler complexion because there's no blood in there. And I get that the bag kind of displaces that, but it still looked really fresh, or like it still had something going on there.
It looked kind of suspicious. Yeah.
It looked a little sus. But that guy was a real jerk, as Norm Macdonald would say. Anyways, this gentleman has been arrested. He has been on the FBI watch list for some time, going through YouTube or Reddit gun places, saying he's got a militia. He's got a main character syndrome where he thinks it's like the whole world is against him and his militia. And apparently he's also a musician, and with some really bad music.
It is rough. It is Casio core.
Why do you know about his entire discography?
Okay, well, it's okay. So
take it away.
His name is Justin Moan, and
he missed out on being a porn star.
Yes, no kidding. No kidding. You wouldn't have had to change anything. So
is moaning kind of gay when you're? Never mind.
Well, yeah. I probably. There's got to be like a very small overlap of straight male porn stars who make any sound. Like there's like a really, really small subset.
Like grunting is understandable, but like moaning, like that's kind of
it's too feminine.
Why are you talking about porn?
This guy had his father's name, which was the source of his animosity. Dad, why couldn't you have changed my last name? Why did you do this?
The boy named Sue, but he's like, it's like the boy named like Johnny Jackhammer or whatever.
So,
it's just like
the boy named Goon.
You need to tweet that out, Gabe.
Yes, I should.
But apparently he came from like a biggish family that like his father was a government. What did his father do?
His dad was a postal worker.
What?
Oh my gosh, he went postal on his dad.
I think like actually worked for like the NSA or something, but no, he was a postal worker.
No, he was not a glowy. No, he
went postal on his dad.
I don't know if he was like a letter carrier or he worked in the office or whatever, but it was the postal service.
Well, no, he still participated in government hegemony. He still sent the letters to the Pentagon.
Yeah. So Justin Moan was probably a schizophrenic, definitely psychotic. He believed that a cult was worshiping him. He denied being the Messiah, but said that everyone in the cult thought that he was. And he believed that he had a bunch of temporal power because essentially that cult is all all of the like people who are doing the human sex trafficking. Sorry, Gio. Sorry about the
Wait,
YouTube thing.
type
Anyway,
stuff, right?
doing all the Q stuff. Yeah.
Oh, he
Ah,
believed
okay.
like the pizza-related incident elites were worshiping him.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. And he thought
I
that there was, and he thought that he had, he thought that there were all of these militias that owed him fealty, and so in his 14-minute video where he
Incredible.
got head from his dad, he said that he claimed that he was now the acting president of the United States, ordered the federal government and all the militias to provide a protective encirclement around him, and then let's see, and
Why didn't they
said
listen
that
to him?
all of the pizza stuff would end immediately. Yeah, why didn't they listen? I have no idea. It's
No, like, they
crazy.
would have sent a protectorate contingent for him. I mean, his father would still be alive if they just listened to him.
And he called for everyone, and he was very specific. He was like, if you have friends or family members who are federal employees, I call upon you to redact them immediately.
Oh my god!
Yes.
Holy fuck!
Well, at least
Like
he's not a
some kind of
hypocrite.
mass
So-
happening, like
It's not a hypocrite.
helter skelter incident where like they just all of a sudden just rise up and
Yeah.
The
but
worst
I mean, he was a
part
legit
is the
crazy guy.
hypocrisy. Well, and the
Oh,
Yeah,
I
the
thought
beheading,
part
but-
was the beheading part,
Schizo posters have been real quiet since he actually went out and did it.
so he wrote a lot of books.
The
And
Wo-
Wojaks have
and
been
he
great.
put
though,
out
since
a
this
couple
incident.
CDs and a couple and a single. But he wrote 9 books, and the most recent one was published all via Amazon, of course, KDP. And the most recent one came out 2 weeks ago, and it's called The Punishing. It's a novella. I haven't read it yet, but
Did you read the sample?
no, I didn't. When the news came out, I saw God, where did I?
So are we gonna get a sidebar episode about his literature?
I'm very seriously thinking about it. I read the sample, by the way. It's like an insane YouTube
Yeah.
comment that just like someone off their medicine. Like it is just
Oh, like that. What was that black professor's name that posted the manifesto?
Yeah, he kept saying the N-word over and over and
Black
over again.
teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a black adjunct professor at some university, and like he went crazy, or like he
He
finally
went to
just snapped.
Cornell.
Yeah, he went to Cornell. Yeah, he was
Wow.
a Cornell professor. I need to look this up. Cornell professor.
I remember
black
the one time
manifesto.
I remember reading it, and there's this one part where, like, even his own propaganda, he can't get it right. He said, "Richard Spencer hiding behind his Bible." I'm like, "Sir, do you know what Richard Spencer believes in? He's not hiding behind a Bible." Okay, I remember reading that line. I'm like, "What the fuck? This guy really is a schizo." Because
Was it the James Foreman guy?
Yeah,
Or...
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It
that dude
wasn't
was
suicide note.
nuts.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't redacting note. It wasn't that one. That was actually a quality work though. Redacting note. Do you know that it was like a 1,000-page book that the professor wrote before he,
No.
Yeah, he was like a techno-futurist. He was like some kind of like HBD guy or something, and he wrote this thing called redacting note. You know the actual word.
Wow.
The S word. It's
Yeah.
like 1,000 pages, and it's quality work. But it's not this guy. It's not the black guy. I think did the black guy sunset, or is he in prison or
I have no idea.
something like that?
Well, so this guy, all of his stuff is in the process of being scrubbed.
Yes. Yeah.
I thanks to Spurgler Acolyte on Twitter, I found out about it slightly before the news found out about the global news found out about it, and I was able to buy this guy's bibliography, and as the order was being fulfilled, like everything's down now, right? So all of these, like they took
it off Amazon?
they took it off Amazon. All of the images were down. They're just like image not available ? If you click it, it goes to the like, oops, couldn't find it.
Oh, those are
To the
dogs or
surprise
whatever,
of no
yeah.
one.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty sure my I'm pretty sure my copies of his books were on like The Last Chopper Out of Saigon.
Someone's got to put them online. Someone's got to do it.
Well, yeah, a certain hero, a certain cap has to.
So,
let's start a publishing house.
Put it on
guys.
GitHub or something. Yeah.
Well, and one
Schizo
of them,
House Press coming
Mystery
soon.
Schizo Press, yeah.
Yeah, mystery.
only scrubbed books. Yeah, the true banned
Mental
books.
Illness Press.
We read banned books.
It's a true banned books. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to get my hands on all that stuff. That'd be interesting.
So we're probably, I'm definitely going to do something with at least the most recent one because it's novella length. These other ones are like several of them are 500 pages, and while I have them for archival purposes, I'm not sure I'm going to read all that. So,
no, but what was he writing about that was like 500 pages long? Was it just like rambling text? Do you know like Bob Hickman? He does that. He publishes on Amazon. You know Bob Hickman?
Never read him. No.
Well, he's like that one guy. He does like Instagram videos, but he says that God is possessing his body and torturing him, and he always says the same thing. He goes, "God, enter my body like a body same size," and it's like,
wow.
Look at Bob Hickman. He's like a OG schizo, and he has a car that he like writes all the he's got those schizo cars where it's got like text on the side.
But are they like sovereign citizen schizo cars?
No,
I am traveling in my conveyance. I do not require a license
No,
plate.
he's like just a pure schizo But anyways, what was he writing? Have you thumbed through these books or?
I did. So one of them is so America's Coming Bloody Revolution as of last night is still on Wattpad.
Whoa.
Oh, it is as of right now. It's still on Wattpad.
Let me see.
Everything else has been scrubbed as far as I can tell.
Oh, good.
And his music is still on Spotify.
What was the date? What was his earliest published book?
Like 2015, I believe. He's got 9 of them.
That's still kind of suspect. It tinges with a certain glow.
I guess this is like the age-old heuristic blindness that we might have. Like we live in the most psyoped country on earth, and Geo, you're just related to it, but you have your own psyops in Canada. But like because we're a nation on earth, and sometimes we have to look at things as if they're fed ops, and then I think we sometimes casually glance over the fact that actually there are just a lot of fucking crazy people out there that are diehard believers in something. Like Gio, we covered Francis E. Deck on this show. We know that there are legitimately unwell people on this earth.
100%.
So if it's an actual thing that he did commit, and he did commit patricide, I think that is an unfortunate consequence, and it will be used, of course, as a matter of convenience. Because there was that like malicious act that also like came out of nowhere in Congress that was only a few weeks old, and it was just like, that's convenient, that's concerning, odd. So
there were people like that were trying to like the anime accounts were trying to meme him as being based. Like he's like, see, he actually went out and did something. You people,
I saw a bunch of
about
that.
Yeah.
And I don't endorse that. I don't endorse you living out your Fed posty fantasies for the sake
we don't
of
endorse it.
letter in the spirit of the law. Do not do anything retarded.
Do not do. Yeah.
Do not do not research, do not commit, do not pass go, do not collect your $200 from the glowies.
We didn't radicalize you.
We did not radicalize you. That FBI agent who's talking to you on Discord, he is trying to. Do not work at Wendy's. Do not collect $10,000 worth of plates, ammunition, and rifles. Do not commit trans. That's how they get you.
Do not commit trans.
Did they publish the trans shooters manifesto yet?
No.
Tranifesto unpublished still.
The Tranifesto remains unpublished outside of a few pages, courtesy of well-known cross-dresser Steven Crowder.
Well, that's like how they always delete. Like, there's certain ones that survive, but they always delete. Like, for example, most of Eric Harris's websites have been gone, except for like screen caps or not screen caps, but like text caps that exist. Kyle Autumn's manifesto is still you could find it. Of course, you could find My Twisted World.
That got published by Apostate Gallery.
Yes, it did.
I bought a copy of it. Yeah, it did. Well, not anymore. It was a limited run.
Yeah.
It was like one of like 20 something, and I bought a copy.
But you can find the PDF for.
But you can. But
Yeah.
I own a physical copy.
I was about to say we got to put that on the back burner for Sidebar.
Well, me and Prue thought about reviewing it for like a Patreon.
We thought about reviewing it, and then we thought, well, that may never go on YouTube if we review it. Like there are some book reviews and discussions I've done with other people about certain topics that'll never be on YouTube. Those
we're thinking of DA
Rumble.
having paywall content. Yeah.
Wait, wasn't Elliot? Wasn't he a Zoomer or no? Or like an older?
No,
Zoomer?
he was a millennial, core millennial.
Yeah,
Was
he
he
just
gonna
never
be-
lived to be old.
He never
enough
lived to be
look
a
like
Zoomer.
one. Yeah.
Wasn't
He never lived to.
there was also, and I haven't read these, but there was this guy named Roman McClay who wrote like a trilogy of books called Sanction, which were essentially his entire like plan. They were fiction, but it was basically a plan of how to carry out a mass redaction event. And then he did it. Like he didn't accomplish everything, but those books are still out there, and they're very expensive.
Where have I heard that name? Was that the guy that was like following frogs on Twitter? No, that was another one. No, I forget.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean he was apparently like somewhat notable. His page is still his Twitter page is still up. So
No, Brent, you're thinking of Breivik, and that stuff you can easily still find online, and he's still alive in prison.
He's gonna be out of
Complaining about-
jail soon, apparently.
Yes,
No way.
Yeah, only got 20 years.
The world he's coming back into.
Wait, let me search like when does
It would probably be best for him to stay in prison.
Oh yeah, I
Agreed.
imagine
He's gonna do a Grandpa Simpson, dude. He's gonna come out, turn right around, head right back in after he redacts.
Well, that or just he'll have an army of like followers.
yeah, that's
And I think the last thing that his government wants is for him to be turned into like a parasocial cult leader.
Yeah, it's almost like Kaczynski getting out. Like it's hard to even imagine. I know he's dead now, but it's like a similar
and I
vibe.
mean, well, he died in prison, and because I mean,
yeah.
and it was always odd that they let him keep writing.
So he got sentenced in 2011, so he's serving 21 years. So he'll be out. I'm terrible at math.
So 2032.
Yeah, we'll still be around then.
If he
well,
doesn't
but
die
what
in
about
prison.
what about good behavior? You could get out
Yeah.
early.
Get him
Yeah.
on the pod, guys.
Wait, Hatcher,
No.
who followed you in 2009?
Yarvin can interview him. Yarvin has all those articles about Breivik.
Is
Yeah.
Wyron Hatcher claiming that Anders Breivik followed him on Twitter in 2009? That
That's what
can't be.
That's what I thought was implied by his chat comment.
That
Yeah.
can't be true.
Man, this is gonna be a fun episode to try and get monetized.
Was Anders Breivik on Twitter?
Pretty sure
What?
he was on some social media. He had a
Let me
website.
see. Anders
Oh.
Breivik.
That just just say that nice and slow on the air.
I'm sorry.
No, the sanctioned guy. He's saying the sanctioned guy.
Yeah, no.
Oh, the sanction. Yeah.
I don't think the censors will pick him up. It's too much of an old head reference, right? It's
Yeah, it
outdated.
doesn't-
Okay, what was
No,
his name?
I'm
Sanction.
skipping you.
What was his name? Sanction books.
I mean, Scandinavia will be a caliphate.
Have fun.
Like,
Have
that's
fun
all.
looking that up. Have fun.
Roman
have fun
McClay. Oh
looking that
yeah,
up in
this was the
Canada.
guy. He was like following BAP and like other
like-
people.
Trying to read. No, the Colorado guy. Oh,
Yeah, Roman McClay. Yeah, he was following like a bunch of frogs. Like he was following BAP and he was following
Jack Donovan, I think wasn't he associated with Jack Donovan?
Yeah, he was following that Pat Stedman guy who got clipped for being a J6er. He followed Trad Wester. He follows Graham Hancock. He probably So he was
watch
following a
out for
bunch
the
of guys.
for the Freemasons.
Yeah. I don't think he was following BAP, but he was following like other people in the. I'm looking at his follower list right now. He wasn't. It's weird. All these like he was just following like a bunch of like I don't know.
He
Well,
followed
mean,
Peterson too,
Peterson.
didn't he?
Who?
That was a big thing. Jordan Peterson. He was following him too, right? That was a big controversy at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, he's following Band.video. Alex Jones's thing.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
What a disaster.
Yeah.
But with that, gentlemen, it's probably time to move towards the super chats. I know that you got to get ready to go soon, David. So I'm gonna try and get us out of here. But with that being said, where can gentlemen find your show, and what are you all? Where are you all at online?
So the show is Two Keys Mag on YouTube. Just search it. I think you might have put it in the description already, Prude. Thank you.
Yep.
So Two Keys Mag on YouTube, and then we have, we did the classic thing of splintering to as many Substacks as possible that update as infrequently as possible. So we have a Two Keys Mag Substack. That's mostly me with a few other people contributing. Gabe has a Substack that Gabe, I don't know if you want to.
It's a baby boy. It's an infant. It's called a Camarilla. I have one post out there. I'm working on other ones. I am working on the other ones. It's just life gets you by. Other than that, follow me on Twitter and and on the Sidebar.
I'm on Twitter and YouTube. You got it.
Yeah, that's us.
Links are down below in the description. And with that, we're going to transition to the super chats real quick, see if there were any questions for our lovely guests and panelists. You can still ask your questions away while we do so. But today's episode of the Digital Archipelago is sponsored by Dr. D Cereal. For all that froggy flavored goodness and everything that you need to get going in life, Dr. D Cereal is sure to keep you alive, awake, refreshed, hydrated, and in your lane, not bothered at all. Available now at retailers and with special order and promo codes available at Dr. D's Friday Night Cocktail Hour Twitter Spaces. You too can have the great froggy goodness and fruity freshness of Dr. D's cereal. And now on to the super chats.
I'm way less contained when I'm on the cocktail hour.
Yes.
Where's those super chats, fellas?
Dr. D's also makes an excellent bread.
Bread. Yes, he does. Most of the super chats are over on entropy.com, Geo. So
okay.
Use that instead if you don't want to give Raja, Mohan, or Google any of your money. It takes a smaller cut.
I will start with you people.
I will start with the one YouTube one from NG Benji for $2 Canadian. He says, "Is manga/anime kitsch?"
No. Some of them, yeah.
Some are.
Yeah.
Some are.
It's like a dividing line. After a certain year, it seemed like it all was. I don't know what that year was.
During the late Trump era with Crunchyroll and Giga and the YouTubers. Yeah, but it's like a plant, like a grafting plant. Eventually, just rots away. Anime,
and all the localization problems too.
Yeah, at its core, anime is too much into the ethnos to really be truly kitchified.
Yes,
100%. Geo. So I know you're a professional wrestling aficionado. Do you feel this has been my impression, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here? Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball in general, fills a very similar niche to professional wrestling. Obviously, aside from the fact that Japan also has a healthy pro wrestling scene.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I think that the selling and the promotion of each fight each wrestling match is pretty much like the lead up to a Dragon Ball thing. But also you have to modern wrestling, I should say contemporary wrestling is very similar in the sense of there's a magic on, because a lot of the guys the millennials that are more athletic and more into the moves and go to watch AEW, it's a million flips. It's there's no selling anymore. It's very much like a video game or Dragon Ball Z, where it's here's my combo, here's my special move, let me throw you 5 magic. It's that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like the story and it's very similar to that selling of a match as being a combination of moves that you're throwing to win a video game, or to a Dragon Ball match is I'm going to go Super Saiyan, but it's no, it's you have to go further. It's 100% good comparison.
Versus someone like a Mick Foley who is not athletic but sells the shit out of it.
Yeah, or someone even like Hogan, or someone like Roddy Piper who can still tell a story with their body, but not being super athletic or having a super a wide expanse or array of moves. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a move F slayer myself, but these people nowadays, AEW, it's taken it to a place where a lot of the other aspects and elements of pro wrestling is a dying art form. You know what I mean? Like yeah, people like who mentioned, Pac-Man respect. Yeah, Bret Hart had an amazing moveset, was a technical wrestler, but he could sell and he could tell a story in the ring that was very distinct, and like the stuff that he was able to do, like nowadays like that. Don't get me started. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah, don't get me started.
All right. Well,
Great.
Good to know. I mean, some of I don't know. There's some stuff that is great, like Area 88, which is much older, but it's like Top Gun the anime. It's fantastic, and then other stuff not so much. I'm getting rid of this one out of the way, and then I'll get to all of the lovely Entropy ones. Brett Taylor for $2 US. This is like a John Carter level super chat of just how depraved it is. Is Talia a wood in 1991? And what is your open? Well, I'm not a chasing Amy type. I don't go after lesbians, but I would throw a drink in her face just to say I did.
No, absolutely. Because the thing is, she would be operatic about it too. The very fact that she put effort, assuming this is a straight question, she would be actually performative about it. Truly performative. She's trying to embody the spirit of the necessary like sexual innuendo. Like imagine her trying to be seductive. Imagine Pagula trying to be like sexy and foreplay.
I couldn't get it up.
Oh my god!
It would be. You know what she would be like if she were like a heterosexual. She would be like the Weasel. She'd be like Caroline Ellison.
Oh my god! Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
just for the experience, just for the
near deformed Caroline Ellison.
How manic she would be.
You mean to tell me she'd be like a Turbo Thought, but like in a different?
Yes.
My answer. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
My answer to this one is that if it's me today, no. But if it's me also in 1991, yes.
Yeah. I'm not a slut. I'm more like a vitalist. I like to live life. She speaks like fucking like Norm Macdonald's Tarantino impression.
Yeah.
That's what it speaks like.
I mean, sex is so exhilarating. It's like, of course, I want to have more of it, but it's not unique.
I see why people. I understand.
I have my sex. Why did I do that? But
I understand why people seek Canadian healthcare now. All right. So starting off over on the Entropy chats, Sam153 for $10 US says extra
$10.
Extra simple Sneed. Well, thank you, Sam. I greatly appreciate it. Seneca for $3 US says the gods in the Percy Jackson series take sides in World War II, like in the Trojan War. The war would have started because Zeus was being Zeus and broke a pact not to have kids between his other brothers, Poseidon and Hades. Mm-hmm. Well, good to know on that Percy Jackson lore.
I think the Austrian painter was a son of Hades, canonically. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the lore he was.
That must be fun.
Whoa.
Rick Riordan is like, oh man, all these people died, and my gods did nothing. They just took sides. Like, Poseidon was a big, Stalin bro or something. Who knows? I wonder if Rick Riordan has ever had those like letters from like young fans, like, what did the gods do in World War II? Why does Poseidon hate Jews? Be a fun question to ask.
The reason why is because they keep on taking the coins out of the fountains. That's why.
Poseidon is just responsible for every single op. So like the Lusitania, that was Poseidon. USS Liberty, Poseidon.
So Poseidon is really just,
Poseidon.
So Poseidon's really just someone's top guy.
He's just a top guy, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to move on before that causes any more trouble. Owen Zaleski for $5 US says, hello, gents. I hope you are all well. It's great to hear new guys. Prude, you mentioned not liking incel. Could you explain? Working on writing a neo-Puritan romance story for Passage Prize. Any advice on writing about sex without being pornographic or cringe? I'm not a fan of perhaps the culture around it, is more or less what I mean. The term I understand. I can't relate to that world. So it's more or less, I have a very passing indifference towards it. I mean, unless you meant the incel book by ARX Han, I had the same problem that I think you guys mentioned, where he sort of just like kind of cucks out the story at the end and says, this is a project.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that kind of killed my desire to be enthusiastic about the book, where he's treating it more like a crusade, a moralist thing than anything else. But that was my issue.
In the intro, actually, I don't know if he's listed as a publisher or one of his titles is Positive XP as well, which is sort of a counter to the Negative XP.
Yes.
The punk
brand.
artist.
So yellow on yellow clash there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was very well written.
Asiatic Civil War.
Yeah, and he has actually a really good Substack too. Just to shout it out, Eric's Han runs a Substack called Decentralized Fiction. It has a really great essay. I meant to butt in earlier when you guys were talking about sort of these ethnographic confessional stories that are so hot right now. He has a really great one from the perspective of a guy who's Asian, on Asian fiction and how liberalism neuters yet promotes Asian-oriented fiction in the West, because Asians, I won't spoil it too much, but by liberalism's own materialistic definitions, Asians have no right to complain. So a lot of their fiction gets into these really like twee, silly stories like Yellowface, where it's like a white woman is like pretending to be Asian, or so much about the food, and these really shallow readings on it. Kind of to your earlier point, Cap, about Chudlit being more of a romantic movement and being more associated with these like, primal emotions and I guess like loneliness and all these things. I think it touches on that. So it's a really good essay I'd recommend people check out that are interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah, he uses the term identity shredder, which I think it's a very fitting term.
Well, that's just true.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is meant to be this great sort of homogenizing tool where your tokenization is only matter if it works for the hierarchy of like fuck white people, but also any sort of cultural uniqueness you did have is going to be dipped in an acid bath and basically compartmentalized to be sold. I mean, like, does anyone think that Crazy Rich Asians is like an actual genuine experience?
I mean, that's a power fantasy, right?
Yeah,
like it's
that hotel scene just says it all, really.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was
this
thinking
wasn't
about.
nothing more than a pornographic fantasy for identity.
Yes, it was pure pornography. Absolutely, class pornography too.
But to the original question, I'm trying to think of a novel or a book that like isn't erotica but talks about the act of sex really well. I'm trying to think.
I don't know a lot of stories that do sex well.
Well, honestly, Itza was pretty sincere with his depiction of sex. I think it was actually pretty brutal and raw, but especially near the end, it was like it kind of has a very based, almost pseudo Augustine view of sex near the end. I'd say.
Interesting.
Because look at the scene, like the club scene at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want a pornographic novel. Is I guess Owen is what he's looking for. Is this just I don't know how you
read it.
Well, he's asking. It's a neo-Puritan romance story. How do you have a sex scene without cringe or being pornographic? Is what he's asking.
I think there's ways of describing it metaphorically that can serve it without being, too graphic. Yeah.
Just be short.
American Psycho sex scenes, maybe. Have you read Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho? What the fuck?
Oh no, maybe he's talking about the films. Maybe the film version.
Yeah, where I'm just yelling and chasing her down naked and
the chainsaw
white stalks with a chainsaw.
Oh no, you described the mirror. Like they fuck in front of a mirror. So it's like,
he's looking at himself. Yeah.
It's not a depiction of the sin. It's merely a reflection of the sin. All right, it's a mirror as a detox of the sex scene.
And then the train entered the tunnel, and the camera panned to the curtains blowing through an open window.
You know what, Owen? I would recommend that you look back at the Hays Code and then see how you can do see how
some
you can
of the
translate
best
that
erotica
to literature.
I've ever read was by Anais Nin, the Delta Venus book. Read that. Read
Delta
those
Venus
stories.
is excellent, and
Spy in the House of Love.
And don't forget the rats.
So is Venus in Furs, although it is a little
Yeah.
Well, or also all the pulp films of the early 20s and 40s. You just have them. You have the two characters sit on the couch, and
it was heavily implied.
Yeah, and they smoke cigarettes on the couch. The post-cigarette sex scene. That's how
yeah.
All right. Actually,
American
on that topic,
Psycho is a confessional story by the eager who got pushed down the stairs.
I do have to bounce, guys. Thanks again.
You're fucking mean, okay? Like,
gotta head.
See you, Dave. See you.
Yeah,
right.
the cuck minds call me back to
Oh, I understand.
The longhouse.
slave.
The longhouse is
Go-
calling.
Just to find a good
Yeah.
cuck chair.
Gooner in a
Come on,
house
let
of
it
love.
go.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah,
we'll
sorry to cut
carry,
your super chat, bro.
it's
Thanks
okay.
again, guys.
we'll
Greatly
carry
Yeah,
it
appreciated.
for you.
on,
it's been
David.
great.
All right, bye.
We'll carry it for you.
We sure will.
Um,
I'm gonna put Gio on top now.
You guys
Hey,
are mean, man. I like
I'm
Sydney.
not a bottom.
Sydney's
Finally.
always been
You
nice
are
to me.
now guest. Know your place.
Oh, apparently, Sydney replied to. Oh, I'm not going to go into it. It's too.
Oh,
early.
I'm not. Oh, all that drama. Let's not.
Yeah, don't worry
I'm
about
gonna
it.
continue on with the entropy.
All right.
Super chats. Charlie Mackey for a very generous donation. I am very, very happy with how kind you've decided to start off my February, good sir.
How
I
much?
sent $50 American.
$50.
Let's
Very
go.
kind of you, sir. He says, "Have you read the Canticle of Leibowitz or the Canticle for Leibowitz?" I have.
Yes,
It is
fantastic.
Oh
one
my
of
God.
favorite.
I've heard of it.
This is hilarious
One of-
because David keeps trying to get us to do Canticle for Leibowitz.
No,
You should-
no,
you should-
me
you should
and
read it.
Dave trying to get you to do.
You should. Aren't you the lapsed Catholic capitalissimo? You should be reading the Canticle for Leibowitz.
Yes.
I believe it's impossible for me to lapse in my papacy. But
What's it about? Canticle of Leibowitz? What's it about?
It's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi novel of after nuclear war in America. Basically, a Roman Catholic monastery tries to help rebuild the world.
yeah, it's
Interesting.
three connected chronological short stories.
Yes.
It's excellent and it is beautiful and it shows like the loss of knowledge and the rediscovery of it, and it's
And the monks
basically
are trying to rebuild.
Sort of like
Yeah,
when Rome
exactly.
fell.
Yes.
exactly exactly.
It's a purposeful. It's pure archaeofuturism at its finest.
Yeah, and it's sort of a fuck you to Gibbon.
Yeah.
True.
Like,
It's-
it's a big middle finger to Gibbon.
Yeah, and it inspired the OG Fallout game, if I recall correctly.
Partially,
Yeah.
although there was the Wastelander game as well that they did prior to with the Rangers.
Yeah, and
But,
Mad Max.
Yeah,
Canticle for Leibowitz is great.
you should read it. And I've read it. Gio, you should definitely read it. And the dialogue is fantastic.
Yeah, I should read
my
it. I got
favorite.
more time now.
Some of my
Yeah,
favorite prose is from that book.
Yeah, the prose is very comfy. It manages all of it pretty well.
The prose is very comfy, and it's like, well, the Catholic Church really restored civilization, but it's like, here's the thing: when you're Mediterranean, when you're like me, you're Italian, you sing about Catholicism. It's like, I can do the Paglia motor mouth for everything. Man.
You know,
I have a
and-
really good David Foster Wallace impression too. My GF says I do.
Just
a
don't
great-
kill
oh,
yourself.
let
Yeah,
us hear it,
Foster
please. Please give us Wallace Bros what we need.
Well,
Then we hear a chair hit the floor.
well, the thing is, in America, we have this thing about entertainment that we believe that entertainment should be a human right, and to me, it's astonishing because a lot of people, they really can't be confronted with their own silence, and I think that's why that's why good literature in America is sort of a thing of the past. What in Europe, the people can tolerate avant-garde literature, but here in America, people want to be entertained all the time.
I can
I
hear
think-
the sweat from here.
Yeah, I can go on if you give me a topic. I can do the David Foster Wallace interview.
During that same interview, he talks about cars. He's ranting about like F-150s, about how
Yeah,
Americans driving tanks.
yeah. Oh my god!
I
You
When
do
he
this
talks
to yourself
about,
by coming back every week. Yeah, but the money is really good.
where he
And
talks
so
about
is the
tennis.
content.
His tennis essays are
Tennis
great.
star.
His tennis essays are great.
Yeah, he
Well,
writes.
for the
He wrote
best.
essays about tennis.
Yes, How Tracy Austin Broke My Heart is like the most accidentally reactionary piece
Oh,
he's ever
man.
written. Yes, it's really good. Because at the end of the essay, he basically reveals that like the word cell can never understand the athlete. The athlete is naturally gifted by the gods.
Yeah.
So because he complains, Tracy Austin was his famous like female tennis player. What's funny about that?
I just like the sight gag of Prude putting you on top.
Yes.
Oh, you bastard!
The
Oh, I
Wallace
just thought it
Bros.
was fitting because I had the Wojak PFP back.
Oh yeah, we're facing each other. Oh,
yeah, that was why.
There
I
you
did it.
go.
the connection of the judge. But yeah, it's a oddly enough a very Bappian essay at the end. I highly recommend that essay from him.
Marbly for 4.99 euros. Thank you so much, sir. He says, top 10 episode. Thanks, guys. Is Chud Lit limited by a lack of a positive vision? Also, the Austrian painter wasn't gay. He was autistic.
Yes to both statements. That's why I said we need more speculative sci-fi. We more distant. One of the best stories on Passage Press when we reviewed it was actually a story about the U word, U and the Enix, right? It was about breeding these lost tribe of orcas. I think it's called The Sun Is Born. I can't remember the author's name, but it was a beautiful story about you have this dying tribe of orcas who can't breed. They don't fuck anymore. So these pseudo
Like
live.
pandas.
Yes, like they're sea pandas, they're water pandas, and so this lib starts using embryo selection and creates a giant synthetic ball of nipples and creates clones like a longhouse version of orcas who do not know how to fight and are totally harbor avoidance, like pure mass utopia, and who can only speak the orcish language via digital learning from the language. So the real orcas can't even understand the gibberish that they speak. And the bottom 20% of the new orcas, the genetically engineered orcas, become fanatical Bronze Age, incel pirates. And the only way they breed is by going out and cuddling real orcas out in the waters. It's a very interesting story.
It's like a rat utopia experiment. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found it so refreshing because it's this is the first time you have this idea of reproductive technology, right? Of course, the left doesn't touch this at all. Only the HBD guys touch that at all, like Emporia magazine. So I found it it's one of my favorite stories from that collection. The reason why was because we don't talk about futurism. We don't talk about the future. We don't talk about based world. Even implications, you can disagree or agree with eugenics or creating super soldiers or whatever the fuck. But at least it's a discussion contained entirely within our spectrum. It's contained entirely within the right. Both conflicts, either if you agree or disagree, is within the entire bubble of our tribe, which is one of the few topics that is uniquely about that. It's entirely within our bubble.
I do
agree that there is. Oh, go ahead, Capitalissimo.
I was going to say, I think that a lot of things are fairly backwards looking, and the ones that are forwards looking, or that leave a door open into the future, are fewer and far and further between. We do need more of that, and the types of speculative potential outcomes, exits, however you want to formulate it, are they're so open, but people are so black-pilled.
So true.
That's not what they're writing about.
What was the original question?
Why if Chud Lit is limited by a lack of positive vision? And I'm inclined to agree with that. Some of the better. Even if you're writing a post-apocalyptic story or something dark and gritty, Automaton has its issues, but that's a great example of how you can make something good within the context of a shitty future, and it's a character story study more than anything else, and it's just that is way better than just doom scrolling on Twitter,
Yeah, but Chudlit by definition is sort of born out of negativity, out of social critique. So it's sort of constitutional of what makes it quote unquote Chudlit to begin with. So I don't know.
Kind of. I kind of agree with you.
It's purely reactionary.
Because
even Spencer Grunhauer wrote an optimistic manifesto, even if it was kind of fucked up. Right?
Because there's nostalgia, it means that they can't imagine a world that's better than the present. So you need I think Gabe already said archaeofuturistic attempt. Even whether or not it's actually a restoration, right?
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, I consider myself a post-liberal, so I want to hear as many people's ideas for what the hell that is as possible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say there's this great quote by Nietzsche in Zarathustra. He says something along the lines, I hate the great men of the past and the future because they both abhor the present. I think that's a great line to describe the kind of spirit we need to inhabit.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think Zarathustra is the recognition that in the present it won't happen. It's going to be in the future.
Well, yeah,
Or
but
at
it's a
least the
perpetual leaping towards
But
the
yeah,
future.
in a fictional
Yeah,
setting, though, that
yeah.
can work.
Well, yeah, but
That gives you the opportunity, I think, to sort of expand beyond the limitations. Let's see here. Alex Ashley for $10 United States.
$10.
He says Fallout New Vegas Lonesome Road is the perfect wrapping up of the great men dictating society's morals, the moral theme that is present throughout the game. It reminds the player that you have agency in the wasteland and that you aren't just some button pusher in a pre-war bunker. Interesting that the NCR has no great man.
Yes, it's so true. That is so true. Because when you think about the NCR, I mean, I don't know how much you're into the Fallout lore.
Oh, Gabe. There's like a 2.5-hour podcast on my Substack that I need to like upload to YouTube on the politics of Fallout New Vegas.
It was with
I'm a big fan. It was with Paul Fahrenheit and oh God, what's his name? It's escaping the tip of my tongue.
Raging Mandrill.
No.
Charlemagne, maybe?
Ace. Kid Ace. Yeah.
Aaron Cummings.
Yeah, Aaron Cummings. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to bother the shit out of me. Like, I should know his name. Well, it's not. Well, they kind of did with President Tandy, sure, but like the NCR as it's presented in Fallout or in New Vegas is that there is no great man leading it. Everyone's got their own fucked up bureaucratic nightmare, and sure, you have like the myth of the Rangers or whatever, but everyone inside the NCR, there is no one that stands out as like I'm the leader. Even the General Oliver guy at the end, right? Like he's just like fucking swinging his dick around despite not really doing anything because the NCR has not been able to hold on to tangible territory in New Vegas, and it's a disaster. And I mean, Caesar accurately describes why the NCR is doomed to fail in his monologue with you when you first visit him in the camp. Like it's remarkably
reactionary.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly base, and I tell people that the Nick Land option is Mr. House.
House, yes, he's pure neo-camerialism. And the thing about
it's all gibberish to me. I don't know.
No, the thing about the NCR is it's basically unity, right? Instead of sterilization via genetics, it's via mimetics with the whole feminism thing, right? Because in Fallout 1, the you can get the master to kill himself by realizing you can't breed. You know, it's literally you never. Yes, the idea it's implicitly the entire Fallout 1 story is so cartoonishly like Old Testament reaction. The Faustian spirit is denied. He cannot create life via the science, via this rationalization. And the man who, by the way, he's multiple genders. He literally has a male voice, a female voice, and a robotic voice. He's being a pure modernism, a pure technology.
Pure indie kid.
Yes. And he realizes his error. He gets to kill himself and his entire species by realizing, I cannot produce myself. I'm literally a parasitic existence of the people who are actually natural, right? And so basically the NCR is a mirror image of that. They can't spread naturally, right? Because, you know, I mean, they have low birth rates naturally. The Legion will outbreed them, basically. It's a base version of the
I can't breed.
Yeah, they can't breed. They have to spread via conquest, via mimetic conquest. They have to conquer and homogenize. They're no different from the Legion in a sense. The Legion's very blunt and very honest. Caesar, if you notice, almost every liberal faction or every post-lib faction in Fallout, they either be the 13ers, the Enclave, the NCR, or Joshua, the followers of the Apocalypse. Why is it that Caesar was a former follower of the Apocalypse? He got mugged by fucking reality. He read all of this pseudoscience, all of this philosophy. He comes out and sees what the real people are like, flesh and blood. And he still takes that love of literature and love of history, but he abandons. He's a Hegelian, right? But he takes the Hegelian and inverts it to a sort of re-energized Spenglerism, because he realizes the foundational unit of any civilization is the Mannerbund. It is not the scholars. It is not the academics. It is the Mannerbund. It is the warband. And that's why I think Fallout or post-apocalyptic settings are fundamentally right-wing. It's because it all starts with an I. A man decides, I will do this for the greatness of myself. It's pure Thucydides. All great men need no tombs, because the world that they leave behind after their conquest is their tomb. And it's implicitly within the genre, you know? At least I think so.
Dear Lord.
You definitely... You definitely need to clip that for your own sake. And I hope someone clips it.
Do you have any idea how many of these that we cut from every episode of Sidebar?
I'm sorry.
I can only imagine. But no, I mean, but
can't you cut things through YouTube Shorts now? Yeah, you can remix.
You
them?
can. Which,
Listen, I could go longer. I'm sorry. I could go longer.
Gabe, we can go on and we can have a conversation on New Vegas anytime you want. We can just do that separately.
Let's go.
But yeah, no, Lonesome Road is basically telling you like you can't bring back the old world, and then like basically the dialectical response to the old world, which is Caesar. You can put that away if you want. You can be like Mr. Clean and start the world fresh and another round of nuclear hellfire. Here's all the shitty things that you did to this old piece of land on the road. You as the player have no agency over, which I always thought was like great, like ludonarrative dissonance. It's like, wait a second, I have no control over what the fuck happened here. I was like shot in the head. I have no memory of this. Like, wham! And it's just like
you can literally tell him that. You can just basically tell him.
No, I know you do in the dialogue options with him. You're just like, I didn't fuck you, Ulysses. Like, this isn't me. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, you're so responsible. I'm gonna go kill you, Chud. And it's just like, well, I guess I got to go kill you, Ulysses. Like, but we can't let God do all the work. But last but not least, let me double check that there was any other super chats that I had missed. Oh yes, not Omegon for $3 US says Caroline Ellison is a vitalist because she took methamphetamines.
Yes,
yes,
this is true.
Yes.
By that logic, Nick Land is a vitalist.
Well, yeah.
He's a techno vitalist.
Yeah,
Vitalists could be here.
Vitalists could be here. He thought, I'm a techno vitalist. I would embrace. He would embrace Shodan.
Oh,
yeah, easily,
100%.
Or the Helios ending in Deus Ex.
Yes, the Helios ending in Deus Ex, absolutely. Confused black man. Oh God. But with that is the super chats, I believe. Let me go refresh Entropy here real quick, and if not, that should be it for today. Then, well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into a fun little episode with our friends from the Sidebar. Gio, you recently released a episode of Content Minded, yes?
Yeah, with Isaac Simpson, disgraced propagandist on my channel. So go check it out. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Wonderful. And I have a new video out that came out earlier this week called Meteorologist for the Eschaton. If you're interested in that, by all means, go ahead. And after the stream, go check it out. I will be on the Old Glory Club's Pony Express Radio covering the news with... who am I with this week? I'm with Pete Quinones, Red Hawk Clossington, and Patrick Casey will be joining us this evening as well.
Oh!
So... It'll be a packed news panel tonight, later this afternoon. All the links are down below for our friends Gabe, Capitalissimo, and David. Go check out the Sidebar Podcast. Subscribe to them, motherfuckers, or I will make your life even more difficult on this show, but you tune in anyways. So go listen to their reviews. They're great. I quite enjoy them. They have officially made it to E-Celebdom, and we'll see
We're
you
here,
all
baby. We're here.
Yeah.
They got Big
For better or
Dog.
for worse. We're here. All right. Well, we'll see you, gents.
Thanks, all right. Thank y'all for the
God bless.
honor. I appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Oh, no problem. Too sweet.